Welcome to Yerba Mate Talks.
Welcome to the Aftershow. I am Max. This is Kat, and he's kind of chill today. So we had a debate or something. I'm more inclined to say or something. No, you demon. No, stop. You freaking feline. No. I'm watching you. I'm looking at you. Stop. No. Pinche putito. Sorry about that. After the obligatory cat attack, we are here. Ow! Pinche gato puto. Sorry, give me 1 second because my sound card is making noise. There we go. Can you still hear me though? No! Basta! Stop! Oh my god. Yes, he's being a bad cat. He's not being held accountable to his social contract of being removed from homelessness. So yes, Cat is not being held accountable, and that is tragic. Salí, gato, basta. Oh my! No! Ah! My tattoo! I paid a lot of money for it. No! Fuck! He's mad. No! I said you were chilling today. Why are you like this? Stop.
As someone who spent a little time with Max's cat, let me just tell you, he's not faking it. That cat will go after you.
Oh my! No! Stop! Please! Can someone help me? What? Oh my! Oh, Dr. J, you look devilish today. Sally, basta, gato, stop. All right, let me get the link to the people. If this cat would just stop. Yeah, there we go. There. And now we have to pin it and we'll be off to the races. I'm so sorry, everyone, for... I mean, you know, this is cat violence. It's a very difficult thing to manage. Proby says, you're going to wake up at 1 a.m. with a missing toes, even a whole foot, maybe. No, he does bite your toes, but through... Oh, fuck, he got me really good. Through the blanket. Fortunately, he doesn't go below to attack. That would be bad. But he did attack Dr. J there when one night that he was sleeping, and then he was like, yeah, you need to keep the door closed.
Yeah.
Tay, I do have a lot of scars already. He's like literally breaking my hands.
It's funny, but in part, a homicidal cat was it formed part of the reason why my wife and I got together. We started dating, and her cat, called Tinkerbell, fucking hated everybody but her. And then when I got there, instead of the cat attacking me, it just curled up on my lap and went to sleep. And my wife was like, "This cat fucking hates everyone. Why the hell does it trust you?" And I just went, "Well, I don't smell funny. I don't know." But then when I started stopping over the night, this same cat would, because I'm a fidgeter in bed, like I rub my feet together under the blankets, and the cat obviously perceived that as fun time for play and would just shred the buggery out of my feet.
All right. So the link is pinned. Let me just make sure because it's been failing. Yeah, it's pinned. All right. We have that ready. So, are women being held accountable? Another, like the last three MDD debates have been bad. I'll just say it. I'll be honest. They've been bad. Bad topics, bad framing, bad debaters, just bad overall. This one wasn't. I don't know if I would grade it as bad as the others, but it was still like pretty bad. All right, so opening statements. We started with a no position with Fugazee and Jen. So who would like to start? I'll go last because I have a bunch to say.
Yeah, I just got home like a little while ago. I was in Alabama doing some work, so I didn't see the debate, Max. So I'm gonna hang on the sidelines. I know there was some Christiany stuff going on there. Maybe
Oh
we'll
yeah,
talk about it. You can ask me, but I'm not gonna be any help on reviewing the debate.
no problem. Arnold says,
Um,
I don't even listen to the MDD debates anymore. Usually, I just catch up here. Don't
Well-
tell that to MDD.
the openings were odd, if I'm going to be honest. Like
Yeah, I think you mispronounce shit, but okay.
well, yeah, okay. The so the was it Jennifer
Jen,
on the
yes.
Jen on the no side spent the vast majority of her openings discussing the accountability of women in history, and I'm fairly certain the debate prompt had the word today in it.
Yep.
And then Fugazi, I actually can't remember his opening because it was like 4 years ago. But the like the openings were just terrible. There was
Trash.
almost no content there at all. I'm legitimately trying to remember Fugazi's opening because he
Oh yeah, I can sum it up for you. Yeah, porn is bad.
well yes that was it. It's where he was trying to he did make the distinction between the distinction between being responsible for the demand and the responsibility with regards to the production of the content that was fulfilling the demand. But he completely failed to account for the fact that whilst the female actresses are obviously in part producing the corn that fulfills the demand, like it's companies that produce it, and the companies aren't. I would be shocked if these companies were exclusively owned by women. So the men are in part responsible for the demand, well, or almost exclusively responsible for demand, and are in part responsible for the fulfillment of the demand as well. So that didn't really seem to make much sense, and nobody really seemed to tackle that in the cross. Was it Lav?
Yeah.
Didn't understand the debate topic, so for some reason had to come up with an opening on the fly. And then, what was his name? Always debate or always discuss or something. Dialogue always. That's it. Dialogue always. Didn't really have an opening at all, and just wanted to get straight into the discussion.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. You're jumping the gun. We're talking about the no side first.
Oh, are we? Oh, sorry. Apologies. Yeah.
So
well, that was my on the no side. Yeah.
You got it. Dr. J didn't watch it. Isa, you there? Check. If not, I'll go. Okay. So Fugazee started porn is bad because reasons. He didn't actually say that. He said women doing porn, that's bad for society, and like bad for society as a whole. It's just an asinine take on everything. It's just, and then banning. He did say some stuff later, but porn should be banned. Alcohol, marijuana, Like the guy is, I don't know, just go live with the Amish and you can have all that today without changing anything for the rest of us. That's just I hate those
Yeah.
points. It's like, yeah, porn is bad. Why? Because it's bad. Why? It's just bad, bro. It is asinine.
Prescriptive morality, just like being sort of
That, yeah.
like,
and we're going
that,
to go into the specifics
Yeah,
of
sorry.
that later, because he did say something that I have extreme problems with, and Dr. J said he will be willing to talk to me about that. Before Isa gets here, I'll just show it now so I don't forget. But here are the receipts for what the guy Dialogue was saying, and he couldn't Google it, but this is literally one of the first results that you get if you Google ancient porn. And it's this little statuette of lovers 11,000 years ago, painting Pompeian brothels, wall pornography from the brothels in ancient Pompeii. Then we have these lovely Egyptian artifacts with huge dongs. We have this one, Greek Priapus, yeah. Then we have Hermes. Kind of looks like Jesus, doesn't it? With the cross, and this face is Jesus-y, and also has a huge erection while being crucified, which is kind of weird. Then we have this little penis creature. I don't know who the hell came up with this. This is bizarre. Now we're getting to more of the actual meat of the thing. These are ancient Greek vases, Warren Cup, these thing. And if you want to actually read, so I mean, humans have been doing porn literally since forever. So don't give me that shit about banning porn. That is just bullshit. And to be fair, I will be the first one on a street corner in New York City selling encrypted thumb drives filled with porn if you make porn illegal, and I'll just become a millionaire. I will be the first one to do that, just to stick it up to the man. And then this is just like on another level. Yeah, that was a little bit of I mean, it's a satyr, so I don't know how that counts when someone is half animal. But never mind. That was my evidence.
Were the people in the debate arguing that porn hadn't been done historically?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I've been to Pompeii, saw the pictures on the wall. So
yeah, I mean, we clearly did not get our sexual awakening with the advent of the internet.
Nope.
The notion that it did is mad. The only thing I would say is that obviously a lot of the ancient societies weren't as prudish about sex as the Christian morality is. Like, I mean, this sort of total prudishness around sex seems to have come from sort of like the Victorian era. And obviously you can't say that other religious cultures, like for example, Islam isn't particularly sexually awakened, are they? It does seem to be an import from our religious heritage, but when you look at it from our motivations, with the exception of those in our society which are essentially asexual, the vast majority of what is done in society is motivated by sex. Given that it's a fundamental part of our reproduction, I would be amazed if that wasn't the case.
Yep. All right, Isa, you there? Check. Should we make a poll? Is Isa taking a booty call right now and ignoring the after show for his many thousands of bitches that he has? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I schedule my kinky time with the wife around the after shows and the MDD debates.
I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. I don't know what else you're doing other.
Yeah. we gotta have a behind the behind the curtain discussion with Issa about this. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
he's
Isa,
got to let
like,
the ladies know that there's just a few hours of the day that's just this is not the time.
yeah, I have three
Well, yeah,
words
this,
for you. I have 3 words for you, Isa. Bros before hoes. That's just it.
although in lieu of the topic of the debate, Issa is just being accountable for as many female orgasms as he possibly can be. So,
Yes.
it is a charity, really.
Yeah. I mean, promoting religion, you could say, with all the God invocations. I mean, there's a lot of arguments to be made there, but that's not the point right now. All right, so we'll move it along. So then we had. Oh, wait, I have one more thing because when there's no flat earthers around, the dumbest comment of the debate section is kind of stale and boring. But I did notice something regarding Jen's presentation, and please take it as constructive criticism, because Jen, this is very new what you did. So basically, what she did was she created the slides, probably in Canva or something like that, and then had each slide as an individual image on her browser. It works, it functions, but it is such a noob thing to do. So I don't know. It's a suggestion. Next time, do this, and then just grab all the slides and throw them into a PowerPoint, and you're off to the races. That's just my tip as the one person that had a presentation. But on her side of the presentation, I think she conceded that women are being held accountable. She gave a historical travel through different times of women that they gained, and she clearly narrated how they gained rights and also accountability. So, I mean, I think she conceded the debate on the presentation. But, I mean, Jen is eclectic, to say the least. Like, for example, if you don't remember, Jen has a very different idea than the normal when it comes to evolution. She kind of half believes it, and then the other half, she believes something completely weird. But she was in a debate with me against evolution deniers, and kind of the same thing happened. I spoke for most of the debate, and Jen didn't participate as much because her position is not the default position. And there's nothing wrong with being eclectic, but when you are in a debate with someone that you're supposed to be holding the same front, if you move to the side a little bit, you kind of do a little bit of disservice to that position. That's weird.
Can I just ask what you mean by eclectic? So, for example, like my music taste is eclectic. So I know what you mean by the word eclectic.
Her YouTube handle is panpsychist.
Right. Okay. I mean, in this debate with because I agree with you in the context of her opening, when she moved through the history of it, she certainly demonstrated that women couldn't possibly have had accountability when they were subjugated and chattel. But then, obviously, as you come into the modern world where women have more equality with men politically, monetarily, educationally, then obviously accountability comes into play here. And the debate topic categorically stated today. So I would agree she's sort of like a bit of a fence sitter, but actually managed to lose the debate in her opening. So is that what?
Yeah, that's kind of that was kind of my point. And she does hold in general some very unorthodox views. That's why I say eclectic. Like, I don't remember exactly, but her type of evolution also included, if I'm not mistaken, I may be wrong, included some type of spiritual evolution, which is not the topic at all. So, I mean, I love that she likes to debate, and she will take up any challenge. What I'm suggesting as a suggestion, just as someone who watches debates and analyzes them for fun, I think, Jen, you should look more into the default positions when you're going to argue for a position that you do not hold. So that way you can participate more in debates and not get relegated that much. She did say some interesting stuff, but I think it leaned more. I think she would have been better on the other side of the debate, personally. Earth calling Isa. Hold on, let me.
But
Do
then,
I have Isa's phone number?
if she was on the other side of the debate, Fugazi wouldn't have had anybody to make him
Nope.
look even worse.
Yeah, that Fugazee guy. Holy cow, he is something else. I was losing it throughout the whole debate. So now we go to the other side of the openings. The other side's openings were trashier than the no side. Like you said, John, Lab was not prepared at all, didn't understand the topic, and kind of got dropped into a situation she hadn't foreseen for some reason. And then, yeah, the other guy, Dialogue, wanted to just go into the open discussion, which we've seen people do. But that is, from a strategic standpoint, it's the worst thing you
It's
could
unfair.
do. It's the worst thing you could do because that's the only uninterrupted time that you have in the opening. And openings can make or break a debate. So I think it was just a bad strategy on him to not pay that much attention to that stuff.
I'm going to fence it here with you, Max. But I both agree and disagree. It can be a bad strategy because it does. You concede, you give up your uninterrupted debate position to lay out a well-founded argument. But it also means that you don't lay out an argument for other people to proactively attack.
I see that as a bad thing.
It's a bad thing
criticize all of the ortho bros in the fact that their openings is always attacking the other one's position and never laying out their own position.
Which I agree is a bad, like that whoever goes like second, third, fourth in the openings. I don't think it is unless they proactively attack you in their opening. I think your opening shouldn't reference the other party directly at all. The whole point is that you're laying out some kind of structured argument to demonstrate your position, and then the discussion afterwards is asking questions to try and poke holes or find fault with the other argument. It's supposed to be a stress test of the argument, not a I get 2 goes at attacking your argument and you only get 1 go at attacking mine. Or I'm not going to lay out an argument so that there's nothing there for you to attack, and then in the discussion part of the segment, all the audience sees is me attacking you, and I've left no content for you to attack. Both tactics are completely unreasonable in a semi formal debate setting.
Right. Yep. Sure.
And whilst I agree fundamentally with Dialogue Always' position, like I'm on the yes side as well, I do think women are held accountable for the vast majority of. So there are a few niche areas where I don't think they are. As much as men, but for the vast majority of circumstances, like I'm definitely on his side. So it kind of frustrated me that he didn't engage with that part of the debate. And just throwing out a bit of misogyny there. At least Lav looked pretty. Other than that,
yeah. Now. I'm making time trying to get Isa. I just sent him a message on Discord. I don't think I have Isa's phone.
I'm going to have to drop off for 5 minutes because my wife's about to get up for work, and I'm going to go make her a cup of coffee. Did you say you need?
Oh, isn't that sweet?
I always do because I'm an early riser, and she needs her sleep, so I have to go and shake her awake and tell her it's time to go and earn some dollar. Here's a coffee. Now, fuck off out of the house and get to work.
All right, I'll show people some stuff that I gathered while we wait on Isa because I don't want to keep going and then have to double back. So we also had some strangeness happening. I saved a couple of comments, not because they were dumb, but because they were interesting. I think this is the first one. And I think this shows a lot of what this debate is about. And my take is that this is a debate about men being insecure in the fact that the roles have changed when it comes to their relationship with women. And it's only weak ass men who cannot cope with women just being able to go away. So this guy, atheist 34767 whatever, uh, he did say a couple of comments that were on point, but then he also said this: women have the right to have sex and then say rape and then get the man on a sex offender list. That is false. Because let me enlighten you, my friend. When sex is consensual, there is some vaginal tearing, but when sex is not consensual, that becomes actual lesions. And doctors have been, and forensic doctors have guidelines on how to actually analyze all of this. So, atheist, I'm sorry, you're wrong. This was Jen. Agnostic Gamer 3122 said, wait, is Fugazee a Christian? If so, his argument breaks even further. Genesis spells out that work and child rearing is a burden. Any thoughts on that, Dr. J? Because I haven't Googled the verse. I'm doing that now. But anything that comes to mind with that comment?
Yeah, working the land would be part of like the fall or whatever. I probably don't have any trouble being on board with that. Child rearing being a burden? Boy, I hate it to think that I'm just misremembering, but I don't think so. I mean, I think the working the land and having to grow things and all that to get food and all that is sort of um, part of the fall, but I don't think that child rearing is a
You
burden.
are right, but there is. I'm looking for the verse now. I found it. Uh, 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 um, Here we go. Hold on. Childbirth. Where is that? Okay.
Five Guys is a burger joint, but the fries are terrible. That's my opinion. If you disagree with me, jump on tomorrow, change my mind about that. But I think Five Guys fries are terrible.
Oh. Zumi does disagree with you and the best fries. So here, to the woman, he said, I will make your pains in childbearing very severe. With painful labor, you will give
Oh,
birth to children. Your
that's right.
desire will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. But
Yes.
then the
The
summary also says, I will, with pain, you will give birth to children. But that is it.
Yeah, and I'm sure the reason I was not pulling that out of my head very good is because it's not about raising children that's a burden.
No, it's about,
It's about having them that's the problem. Yeah, that's
yeah.
right. The
I
pain of
think this
childbirth.
person was wrong then
Yeah,
also.
they were pretty close, but
Yeah, but yeah, that
not quite right.
bearing and birthing are kind of
There's definitely
the AI summary though says Christian interpretations generally see childbearing and rearing as a blessing that can involve hardship, with the burden being offset by the joy of having children as a gift from God.
yeah,
So not entirely wrong, but not completely accurate.
that's right. So it's like the pain in childbirth is part of the curse and like a bad thing. But the rearing the children, you know, having children are considered a blessing, right? There, I don't know if you've ever heard like about arrows in the quiver. So there's
Yeah.
a proverb about that, right? And so like they're a benefit. So yeah, it's not about rearing them being a problem. They're considered a blessing. But when the the woman is like giving birth and in a ton of pain, right? The joke is blame Adam and Eve for this or whatever, you know, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yep. All right. That takes care of that. Um, Oh, Net2 user who's there in the chat. This debate should be titled, Are Women Not Held Accountable Today in America? Because it clearly does not apply in other cultures or countries. My country is the same. It's like that. Like, you're free to do as you please. We don't... someone doing porn is not going to... Oh, shoot. It's not going to break society. And...
If you want to defend the fries, the mushy, gross, greasy fries from Five Guys, come on to my show tomorrow. We'll argue about it. Sounds great, but I think they're terrible.
I haven't... I
Sorry about that, guys. I'm back.
cohabitated with Dr. J for like a week and a half, and I've never seen him be that adamant that that shit is bad. It must be absolutely awful. Just like my thoughts.
There are people that love Five Guys. I do have to confess, there are definitely people who like it, but I do not like Five Guys fries at all. Their burgers are fine, but I
have you guys ever seen that segment with the it was a British interviewer, a young girl, and she was interviewing two of the actors that were in the Star Trek franchise, the guy who played the Doctor, and then the guy who played the replacement actor for Sulu. And she said, "Oh, like, you know, if teleporters existed in real life, like, where would you teleport from to? Like, for me, it'd be like straight from my bed to a Five Guys." And these guys had never heard of the burger joint Five Guys before. They're like, so she thought she was saying that she was like basically being teleported into a gangbang.
Yeah, I mean, when I read Sumi's first comment, I thought I had to read it again because I thought like, oh, that's very specific. But then I realized, and I have heard of Five Guys before. So this guy came towards the end of the debate. And in case you don't know, that little D, wait for it, Vietnamese dongs. That is the name of the currency. So this guy just sent 100,000 dongs, then sent 500,000 dongs, then sent 200,000 dongs, and 200 more thousand dongs. That is 1 million dongs in one debate.
Yeah.
Bravo.
Bravo. There are heroes in the world still, huh?
There are.
I think 1 million dongs is like $18.
Do you? It doesn't matter. It's 1 million dongs.
Yeah, I did some traveling around Thailand and Vietnam, and the currencies. It's like I remember going on holiday to Spain, where you would get pesetas.
Pesetas. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, and they were like 240 pesetas to the pound. So, but they didn't have any larger denomination. It was all in pesetas. So we in Britain, obviously, you get 100 pennies to a pound. So for every pound, you'd get 240. So like £4 was 1,000 pesetas. So you get these. So obviously in Vietnam, that if you know, it's when in Vietnam, it must be from like being a US citizen or a UK citizen. That must have been like post First World War Germany must have felt like when you were wheeling a wheelbarrow full of currency into a supermarket to buy a loaf of bread, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that's when that's when countries remove zeros from the currency just because, like, it happened here, it happened in Argentina, it's happened in many places.
And in like Zimbabwe as well.
Whodunit said 1 million dongs is $38. Pretty cool. And also, the final thing that I snipped during the debate was this. The result, this is troubling. The result of the vote. I mean, the guy has 400,000 subs, so he probably came with his audience, but 74% in 607. But that is way too much.
So is this Fugazee who's got 400,000 followers?
Yes.
How?
Don't ask me how a dum-dum like that gets 400,000 subs, but yeah. All right. So I don't know Isa where Isa is. So we'll just carry on. The next part was the open discussion. And I think the people that regularly watch MDD were not feeling the debate. I feel I was actually not playing games and paying attention to the chat, and I don't think people were feeling this way too much.
No.
Nah, it's been we're in a bad rut, I would say, with MDD debate. So I mean,
I'm not even really sure why, because the actual discussion back and forth, it was respectful, and people, while some of the points were shit, they were making fairly clear and concise points. It wasn't a dumpster fire. They weren't like screaming at one another or anything like that. There was a bit of over talking, but it was reasonably respectful as a back and forth.
yeah, but
it just wasn't very entertaining.
Yeah, and the problem is that the most of the debate was Fugazee speaking, and everyone else just waiting for him to finish his roundabout point of every time he spoke, he got 5 minutes, and then just to say nothing, just to talk about like porn is bad. Why? It's bad for society, and he never explained. He never said why it's bad. And I'm sorry to tell you, but porn is bad because Bible, that is bullshit. The Bible says nothing about porn. You can have interpretations that is that lust is sinful, but then you're only hanging it on.
Well, I think it's also.
Hold on one second.
Sorry,
on some words of Jesus, right? Like it was Jesus who said, Dr. J, if you look at someone with lust in your heart, you have already sinned.
Yes.
Right.
Hard to watch porn and do that, I would say. I mean, I'm not, obviously you're not going to get your morals from the Bible. I'm not really expecting that, but it does seem like in a reasonable interpretation that it would. So I should say this: Christians would say it's theoretically possible to see like a naked person and not have lust in your heart, right? Like that would they don't necessarily have to be together, but they would also say like probably going to happen, like what's the point of it, right? What's the point of watching it? So maybe they could say, well, you could watch Schindler's List and it not be a lustful experience, but if you're watching porn, it probably is going to be a lustful experience. So that's, I think, how Christians might understand the difference between lust and just seeing someone without their clothes on.
Well, keeping it in the realm of film, like for example, that famous scene in Starship Troopers where the shower scene where they're in a communal space, men and women together, and they're I know, it'll be a seminal part of the
yes.
That I'm sure everybody's VHS recording of the Starship Troopers has that little stretching where it's been paused on that particular scene.
Pause and rewind.
Dr. J knows what I'm talking about.
Like by the end, that part of the tape, if you looked at it, it was transparent.
Yeah. But but obviously keeping it in the realm of film, you're absolutely right. Like the context here is like in Starship Troopers, where it's a co-ed shower scene and they're all like young, beautiful, attractive people, and that there's a reason why lots of young men paused the point on that. But like Schindler's List was a film that was broadly speaking the same sort of era when it was produced. Like I doubt there are very many young men that were pausing the bit in Schindler's List where they're all being marched around the square naked by the doctors for their medical assessment. I mean,
no, I can't. I know a bunch of perverts, and I can't think of anyone who would jack it to that. I think the surrounding scenario is just too horrific to even be possible for anyone to ignore it.
Yeah.
Looks like we have a fun. This is a Spurg mod from MDD. LOL. It's funny that you're there throwing stones, hiding in the chat like a coward. You see the link? There's a link right there, pinned to the top of the side chat. You can click that and come talk to me. I don't know what I did to you, but thank you for being a fan. I love that. So, sorry, go ahead.
No, the only thing I was going to say with regards to pornography, or I don't know if you're happy with me saying pornography.
I mean, dude, the stuff I've said here, just talk.
Okay, fine. Where for me, like potentially, I think it becomes harmful is when it starts interfering with relationships, where it does
Okay,
like
pause 1
fry
second.
a person's
Because
brain.
that's everything. That's everything. If you become addicted to shopping, it will affect. So it's not the thing in of itself. Is that so? And I was going to ask Dr. J this because I've asked thousands, well, not thousands, maybe a couple hundred people. What is the inherent? Why is lust sinful? And no one has an answer for that. The only answer they have is that because lust can drive you to do something else, like sexual assault, for example, or like cheating on your spouse. But
Sorry, can I ask?
that is not the lust that is having the problem. That is, lust takes you to another thing. No one has ever, in 37 years of being on this planet, no one has ever been able to tell me why lust is bad if you just keep it at lust. Why me having fantasies in my head about people who will never know, will not be affected in any way. No one can explain that to me.
Also, can I just add because this is a great question. I'm genuinely interested with Dr. J here as well. Also, given that lust, it does seem there's no getting away from it from a biblical point of view. Lust is deemed as sinful, as Max has indicated. Is lust still sinful if you're lustful of your wife? Is
Okay,
lust in and of itself, or is the lust contextual?
Yeah, the
Like if you
lust.
lust for somebody else's wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would be contextual. That would be how it would be understood. But Max, I can try to explain.
Just to let you know, you will fail because
I'm
every single time you will have to appeal to something else. I'm asking for why is lust. Let's say I'm married. I see a bombshell. She's 50 years old, recently divorcee, has a grudge against her ex-husband, and I'm just like drooling without drooling because no one sees it. It's all happening in my head, and
Right.
I have an extreme bout of body to body combat with this woman, and no one ever finds out. My wife doesn't know, she doesn't know, etc. How is that bad?
So the sort of simple answer that you're really not gonna like is God says it's bad, so that's the end of it, right? Like
I understand that.
obviously that's not going to be a great answer. So then, or not one you're going to like too well. So then, one could argue that, well, Max, your relationship with your wife isn't as fulfilling as if you wouldn't have done that. The problem is
Says who?
there's no way to prove the counterfactual, right?
Yep.
We would never be able to do some sort of double-blind study to figure out if you had the lust versus not had the lust or anything like that. So
Right.
therefore, the Christian would say something like, well, I'm going to trust God that he told me not to do it because he would know better that this is going to harm my other relationships, even though I can't really, do some kind of double-blind study to demonstrate that it's true. That's probably what I would say the argument would be.
If someone made that argument to me, I would tell them, okay, you see it as it's potentially ruining my relationship. Okay,
Or
fair.
damaging, maybe
Now,
not ruining, right? Not ruining necessarily,
damaging,
but
whatever.
they're not as good as they could be.
Now, what if I see that, have the same thing, and then just see my wife and just bang her brains out? What's the counter to that? There is none. Because I mean, you started with something sinful, and then you turned it into a love expression for your wife. That is great.
Yeah, so it's not like, I don't think Christians would argue that every how would I say this? It's not like sinful things aren't super fun, and they'd probably argue that it's, the argument would be like, it's, yes, temporarily that would seem really fun. You had lustful for someone else, you go, use all that pent up lustful energy or whatever, what you want to call it, and you sleep with her, you have sex with your wife, and it's great for her too, right? Like that.
Yeah.
That the argument wouldn't be that isn't super fun, or that isn't like, great or whatever. The
I
argument
actually think. Oh, sorry.
Hold on.
the argument would be not that wasn't super great. The argument would be more like, yeah, well, that was fun, but it's like a temporary thing. In the long run, it's not good. Which I don't expect you to buy any of that, but I think that would be more of the argument if that makes
Isn't
sense.
isn't
I
the
told you
lust
would play.
isn't the lust being sinful in this respect sort of a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy? So the lust being sinful promotes culture within Christianity, which produces a type of relationship where if a wife sees her husband potentially admiring the um, aesthetic of another woman and just the aesthetic, then because the wife has been indoctrinated to believe that that is sinful, it then causes damage to the relationship. Whereas with my wife and myself, we're happy to sit on the sofa, watch the TV, or like my wife will be walking down the street and she'll see an attractive woman and she'll nudge me and point her out,
Yeah.
and I'm like, but because
She will go
we've
like,
not
"Hey,
been,
look at her boobs."
yeah, because we've not been indoctrinated for that to be like a shameful or a sinful thing,
Yeah,
and
so it
therefore it
would
doesn't cause damage.
so the idea that like, well, if my wife never knows about it, then it can't be damaging. The argument would be, no, you won't love or appreciate your wife as much as you would have if you wouldn't have done that. Now that's like unprovable, right? There's like no counterfactual, so it's
Right.
unprovable. You have to have a lot of I'm trusting God that he told me not to do this and he knows what's
Right.
best. Because I don't
But
know of a stud I can't even think of a way to sort of
no,
study this, some sort of survey study where you ask how satisfied people are in their marriages. I mean, I can't imagine
Yeah,
that would be very
I,
accurate, right?
I generally take all self-report studies and chuck them in the bin
Yeah.
straight away.
the
They're almost
other
useless.
the other thing I've heard is that it damages the soul. But I mean, couldn't have anything convincing. Now,
Yeah.
to answer the actual point that you made, is because God said so.
Hmm.
When I was about 12, because mom says so, stopped being a reason for me because I developed my own reason. So if you're telling me just because you're my mom, you say this and that goes, that is not reason enough for me. So if that didn't work for my mom, who literally gave birth to me, or at least that's what they claim, uh, like why would I make an exception for God? I wouldn't.
Uh,
I mean,
I,
I would if it's God says so, then why didn't he explain why?
I mean, you already don't agree with any of the God stuff already, so I wouldn't expect you to find any of that convincing, right? Like
Yeah.
that's too many steps farther, right? You would have to have
Yeah.
already accepted that the God thing's real. And so if you're like so totally rejecting God and Christianity already, obviously saying God told me so is going to be like the biggest eye rolling, argument you've ever heard, right? Like there's,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well,
well, maybe Zeus told me something else, right? That's what you could say,
Yeah.
you know.
Or
well,
the Hindus. The Hindus, they sex good. They wrote a book on it.
Hmm.
well, and also it's like broadly speaking, with like the religious commandments, it's in part like there's obviously divine command theory, but in part it's in part inductive in that you'd look at some of the 613 commandments and you'd go, okay, well, I understand that a lot of these make sense, and because a lot of these make sense and they seem reasonable, then I'm going to assume that because the person who has given me these ones that make sense, then the ones that don't make sense to me right now are also something that should be followed because I don't have the understanding of them. And from a parental point of view, that kind of makes sense. Like as children grow and get older and have a better understanding of the world, a parent going, because I say so for something, it might have been outside the capacity of the child to understand at the time, and as they get older they eventually understand, and then the reason can be given to them as they grow. So I think a lot of a lot of religious people that follow commandments that they don't necessarily understand do so because they trust the person who has given them to them, or perceive that there has been given to them, because the ones that they do understand and they do make sense. So,
Mm-hmm.
but because you don't agree with the premise of there being a moral lawgiver at all, you reject all of it and you're cutting your own path, which is why that doesn't make sense to you. You can't get on
Yeah.
board with any of the explanation.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you take out the God part, I mean, I don't need, I could just understand it sounding completely nonsensical, right? What are the arguments if you take the God part out of it? It harms people, Who does it harm? Lust. You can't argue. You're harming
Yes.
yourself. Yeah. What's the evidence you're harming yourself? I mean,
Nothing.
it would
Yeah.
just be totally, kind of
Well,
impossible to give any
But
sort of empirical arguments
I,
beyond.
I,
Besides, I trust God, and He told me so.
the
yeah,
reason
I
why I
would
brought this
suggest if you
up,
remove. Oh, sorry, Max.
the reason why I brought this up is because this exact same thing happens with porn. It's not porn that is the damaging thing. It's not porn eroding society and this and that. It's a porn addiction, not understanding the difference between fiction and reality, creating unreal sexual expectations and so on. Like, we can actually talk about the harms or the problems of porn, the exploitation and so on. But this guy, he didn't mention any of that. And again, it's not the porn, it's the problem. It's a whole suite of other things that come when you overdo. But those things happen when you overdo pretty much anything. So I
Well,
don't understand the argument. And I
well,
don't understand why the other side wouldn't press him on that.
Well, I like, but so I mean, with this position that you take, Max, whilst what you're saying is technically is true, it's almost a truism. I mean, what's your position on heroin? Should heroin be legal?
Yeah.
Fentanyl?
Yeah. All
Was
drugs
just
should be legal. Let me just say to
it's
you,
just
all drugs should be legal. Yes.
regardless of the social consequence.
Yeah. I think if all drugs were legal and you had the choice of going to the drug shop and buying a tab of LSD or doing a hit of fentanyl, I think with the proper education, we could actually teach people that, hey, you can have a tab of LSD and have fun, or you can do this shit, other shit, and just ruin your life. But I do
I mean,
think that it's a fundamental freedom of letting people just put in their bodies whatever they want. We do the same
given that
thing for
I'm
alcohol. There's
yeah,
no
but
reason why alcohol is legal and drugs are illegal.
given that I'm a small government, minimal legislation conservative, that to me seems a bit like fentanyl, like something that is almost universally addictive and one of the most toxic substances on the planet. I
So
can't.
is morphine, and they still give it to you.
Yeah, but it's licensed. It's under prescription. You can't just go into your local cost cutter
Yeah.
and buy a vial of morphine.
So it's morphine.
I don't. It's. I think.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is about the social consequences, right? Like, if you
Yeah.
could prove, Max, that people will use fentanyl and it won't ever bother anybody else, or they'll never use it or something, then you would be right. But if the evidence would demonstrate that no, fentanyl, if you have fentanyl legalized and it always ends up spilling into harming other people's society besides just the people who use it, then it seems like you should,
Okay, but that again, that is not the problems of the drugs itself. It's the problem that in the current system, people are forced to do crime in order to do drugs. I think legalizing drugs in general would be a beneficial overall, because you would have less of that particular thing.
Isn't a fentanyl addict, like a marijuana addict, can they still have a job? Of course, obviously, like super no problem, right?
You
But can a fentanyl,
can't get addicted to marijuana.
a heavy user of marijuana can still have a job, right? No
Yeah.
problem, But
Well,
a
a heavy user of fentanyl is dying in a gutter, so they generally can't be that productive.
they're not going to hold a job,
Right, but
so
what I'm
they're
arguing,
going to have crime in order to be able to,
yes.
Hold
on, but what
pay
I'm
for
arguing is that if we legalized all drugs, there would be a net reduction in those kinds of addicts. The people that go to fentanyl because they literally have nothing else, because they can't afford some of the other stuff, or because they are so down the road in addiction that they have been ramping up what they consume. But again, if you make everything legal, then now you have tax resources that you didn't have before from the drugs to treat those people and to help them.
I could be super convinced on quite a few of the drugs or whatever. I think you would need to do some study on fentanyls. For the countries that have legalized drugs, have they legalized fentanyl?
No. The problem,
Yeah,
the thing is that, okay, let's think about it this way. Fentanyl, it's just a synthetic high power opioid. So
yeah,
you wouldn't probably, I'm just saying yes to fentanyl for the sake of consistency, right?
Hmm.
But that being said, you could legalize heroin and opium, and that would kind of take away the need for people to do fentanyl.
Hmm. Like I think if you legalized some other stuff, um, fentanyl wouldn't be laced in stuff, right? And people might not choose
Correct.
it. So like, I actually think you could make it continue to have it be illegal, and it would be significantly easier to um, keep illegal because I'm not sure there are people on the street dying to get fentanyl, right? They just get addicted to it on accident. Oftentimes, I don't think they're like seeking it
Right.
out
well,
initially
I think
necessarily.
fentanyl is an economic choice by the drug producers because it's so much more potent in smaller quantities, and therefore it's economically it's more concentrated, so it makes more sense to produce economically from the perspective of the drug
Yeah.
manufacturers, legal
So,
or otherwise.
so what you
So
have
yeah,
is
if you
people that were doing other drugs that get roped into fentanyl. For example, people went to buy cocaine, and that cocaine was laced with fentanyl, so that person starts on a fentanyl spiral.
Hmm.
Or you have opioid users that have developed a tolerance, so they moved on to fentanyl, which is stronger. So I think all of that could be avoided if you just make heroin or opium at the very least legal. But then the part that I want to focus on is that that would bring more tax dollars from the drug people themselves to help other drug people. There's no downside to that, in my opinion.
yeah,
I
I have to be honest. My continuing and ongoing study of human nature for the first 40 years of my life thus far, um, I can't, like, if you just take the brakes off and just remove all of the restrictions uh, on every, I have to, I think the people that would affect worst in our society are the people on the bottom end of the economic ladder. Like, I do not, even if fentanyl and even if all of the drugs in the whole world were legal, it is it is not very likely that it's going to have a detrimental effect on my life because I'm fulfilled in a great many other aspects of my life. I'm married, I have kids, I own my own home, I run a business. I am a fulfilled person generally. I'm generally a happy person, and I wouldn't feel the need to go down like a chemical rabbit hole with like fentanyl or morphine or heroin or whatever. There's the MDMA occasionally before I had kids, and we still smoke a bit of weed occasionally now. But if I was like one of the economically downtrodden, and you just gave me easy access to escapism through an opiate, I, I'd be dead within the week. And that's the people that by legalizing it all, I think that's who it's going to affect. And then,
That so you why do you think that you will have the exact same situation that you have right now? Because that's what happens right now. Those people are dying today. What I'm doing is trying to propose some changes that will grant and liberate and actually generate more resources to treat those people.
I think for me, Max, the only hiccup is a really hard drug like fentanyl or whatnot. I mean I think you would you could just
We can keep fentanyl pharmaceutical. There will still be some diversion
some
to the black market,
sure,
but if you make all other drugs legal, you
yeah,
could still keep fentanyl just as a pharmaceutical thing, and
right.
there wouldn't be much of a problem with that.
Right. I think that I'm not sure I have too much trouble with that argument. And I actually think you could just try it, right? You'd say, well, we're not going to open up everything all at once. We're going to try,
Yeah, make it.
try it in this area. We're going to start with the marijuana or whatever. Then we're going to try this, and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
And then, I mean, this is a big issue because, okay, let's say you legalize cocaine. Now you have to offer an amnesty to the cartels to regularize their situation. And then also, while you give, a grace period for them to actually become a legal business and yada, yada, there's also an ultimatum that the violence has to stop, right? So it is a big issue. It has a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
But I think we brought this up because of the prohibition. And this guy argued that porn should be banned, alcohol should be banned, and weed should be banned. So this guy doesn't care about freedoms at all,
He's at
like
least consistent.
whatsoever.
He's consistent in, like, I perceive this as doing harm, therefore I'm going to ban it. I perceive this as doing harm, and, like, I mean, my position is somewhat inconsistent. If because obviously alcohol does harm. I think marijuana can do harm in terms of like, there's obviously harms with things around, like, brain development and productivity. I do think it would have a negative impact on productivity if somebody was smoking marijuana all day every day. I don't. But I draw the line at certain things because I perceive the negative social impact to be too excessive. So that's why I don't think heroin should be legal. I'm not. I'm sort of borderline on cocaine. I don't think MDMA should be illegal. I don't think that does any meaningful, like, the harm caused by MDMA is almost exclusively, or in vast part, because of, like, what people cut it with, what they put it in, put with it, can end up causing harm. Like psychedelics, I don't particularly have too much of an issue with. But I draw a line at something that can be lethal and immediately so in relatively small quantities,
So no water.
or has an inbuilt chemical hook. Like, if I wanted to kill myself from alcohol, I would have to sit and drink, like, several bottles of fairly high proof alcohol in order for that to kill me. And
You're about to make my point for me, so I'm just going to let you finish.
well, that was where I was at. I'm just drawing a distinction socially. Now, I don't think pornography
Right.
should be banned.
So wait, because you said that your problem is that, okay, you might have the one pill in the 1 million batch that they made that got a double dose, and that it will just kill you. You know what would fix that?
No, I said I don't.
Legalization.
Yeah, I said I don't have a problem with MDMA, because I said the problem with MDMA is potentially what it's cut with, not the drug itself.
Oh, I
And that's
understood the other way. Sorry, my bad.
and that's about the only problem I see with it, like the drug in of itself. So I wouldn't have a problem with legalizing MDMA. I wouldn't keep it illegal. I don't have a problem with legalizing it, but I would have a problem with legalizing, like, fentanyl, heroin.
Why? Because they're addictive. Alcohol is addictive too.
Yeah, no, I know
Cigarettes are
alcohol.
addictive.
Yeah, but there's, like I say, like,
Gambling
I
is
think,
addictive.
yeah, of course, there's loads
It's
of
not
things
about being addictive. Just like, so you can drink alcohol every single day and hold a job and not harm society. It doesn't harm society in any way. You can harm yourself all you want, but not like society has to take care of you. But if a substance is addicted, and a result of that addiction almost always is like a drain on society, then you could see why society would say, no, this is going to be illegal.
You know, there's high functioning opiate addicts, right? Actually,
Yeah.
it's the most.
I would not be. I think I know that that's mostly true. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, you just follow the studies, right? You just try stuff, follow studies. That's my view, right? Like, I mean, I know that's not what the guy on the debate was recommending, right? He read the Bible and no studies needed, right? Like,
correct.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great segue to what I wanted to ask you, Dr. J. So I'm going to my notes here. So this guy said at a point during the debate, he said, from a Christian worldview, and then proceeded to give anything but the Christian worldview. He didn't say anything that is said in the Bible. He didn't say anything that is said in either the Old Testament or the New Testament. So my note here on our Discord chat was said from a Christian worldview, and then proceeded to give nothing but the actual Christian position, to give anything but the actual Christian position. So what they were talking about was adultery. Should we punish adulterers? And he said from a Christian worldview, and then gave his own opinion based on whatever, not the Bible. The Bible is pretty clear on that, and we were arguing with Dr. J. The penalty for adultery in the Bible is stoning, period. Dr. J was telling me, yeah, but Christians don't really hold to the fact that they have to actually hold the law. But my counter argument to that is that God says over and over and over and over that you're meant to keep the law forever. And Christians don't. And I think they're all wrong on that. I think they don't read the book. And I think the doctrine of the new covenant is completely incorrect.
So
Dr.
you
J?
think that when Jesus came, he followed all the rules of the Old Testament?
I mean, if he wanted to go to heaven, yes.
Okay. Well, he didn't, right?
He didn't. Correct.
He didn't, and he claimed that that was okay. So if you just want to
He
say, I
claimed.
think I have no trouble with you saying like, I think this is inconsistent. I think the rules are changing. This Bible stuff's baloney, right? That's fine. I mean, you're not a Christian, you know. Of course, you kind of believe that already, right? But if you just say, I think the Christians believe in a book that is inconsistent, it has a resurrection, I think has no evidence, they shouldn't do that. I'm totally understand why you're kind of, you know, you would go with all those arguments. But I'm not sure then what the point of sort of, I think when you're arguing with a Christian, you're kind of needing to say they're consistent with their own views, right? I mean, otherwise you're just having the, do I want to listen to the Bible at all argument every single time, which is, I guess, okay.
No,
but
I'm trying to avoid my judgment on that. I'm trying to go on a text, and this is what I told you before, that if you want to go there, sure. My argument is that their interpretation of the Bible is incorrect. The Bible says not that, not what they're arguing for. So
you're doing an internal critique.
We have God giving the Father giving the law in the Old Testament, and then we have Jesus, who claims to also be God the Father, but contradicts himself. Right?
So
can't you just apply abrogation? So what Jesus said supersedes what came before.
Yeah. So like think about the Old Testament back to Adam and Eve. What was Adam and Eve's rules? They weren't supposed to eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, right?
Yes.
Are those
should have
rules
put a fence on the tree, but okay.
Yeah. Are those rules in effect for today? No, not at all, right? Like there is no tree, right? You know, so no one think. As a matter of fact, as soon as Adam and Eve whole saga ended, no one followed those rules anymore, right? And then there was a time in between Adam and Eve, in between when Abraham and Isaac started in like Genesis chapter 12, that there were just like a few rules we knew of. We know they were supposed to do some kind of sacrifices because we knew Cain and Abel. They had a few rules, right? But those rules, we don't know too many of them, were like rules that changed with Abraham. Because when Abraham came, they still didn't have the law, right? They weren't told to build the tabernacle. They weren't told to build the temple, none of that stuff. So then Abraham had like a different set of rules than Adam and Eve did, than Cain and Abel did. And then you go to Abraham, and then we go from Abraham all the way to Isaac, Jacob. Then we go to Joseph, and then we get all the way to they leave Egypt. And after they leave Egypt, they go to Mount Sinai. Then they get all these rules. So this is like a long time further on. So they were not following any of the rules of the law that they got.
Because
Not any of the rules.
my counter argument would be that the law hadn't been established by God yet, and those people were only given a handful of rules for their their approximate location, because Adam and Eve were confined to the Garden of Eden. Cain and Abel were out there hanging out outside the Garden of Eden, but they didn't have, they weren't given any rules, so they weren't.
They had
breaking
rules.
anything.
Yes, they had a few rules. There was
a few,
rules.
but they weren't contradicting the ones that came after, right?
Yeah, they were building on them or whatever is what you would say. And then and
Right.
I just want to say also that the saying there's a difference between the word law and rule. I don't know if Christians would say there's like a huge difference between the two, right? So it's not like when God established new rules and some of them were the law, it's not like there's something magical about that was like, wasn't going to be adjusted necessarily in some way. So therefore,
Right.
how God has worked with people has changed over time. So Christians might call these
Yes.
dispensations, right? These are different spations. They're different stewardships God's had in which how he's dealt with them has changed. And therefore, in the Old Testament, he dealt with them multiple different ways throughout the Old Testament. And then when Jesus came, if you buy the whole Son of God thing, it was a major, major shift in how God dealt with people. So no longer did God deal with people on like a national level. There's no supposed to be any countries anymore. That's why Christian nationalism is so weird to like a lot of Christians, because
Yeah.
no longer was it like it was like a country thing. Like God was no longer going to work through a country where you had kings like David and Solomon. Now he's going to work through the church, and the church is countryless. The church doesn't have the church doesn't have not about a race. We're not about the Jews anymore, right? It's like this countryless, raceless, genderless type thing, right? And so therefore, not genderless in the sense that I would argue that it didn't pretend there's any genders anymore, but like it became not a country anymore. It's no
Right.
longer a national thing. And so
But
then so that
sorry,
there's this huge shift. That's why when we say yes, Christians no longer follow the rules of the Old Testament, that's true. So they would say, was adultery wrong in the Old Testament? Yes. Is adultery wrong in the New Testament? Yes. But the way that God deals with people, meaning how he does the punishments, are we going to have a country in which the country is going to stone people, or are we just going to say no? What do we do with adulterers now? They're not allowed to be a part of the church. We would do church discipline on them. So it's not like the rule. God's morals have changed. It's how God might deal out punishment, or how he might work with people, but theoretically the morals don't change. Now I'm
okay,
gonna
wait, hold on, because
at
I want
least
to
in
say
the
something.
adultery one, the slavery one would be a lot harder for me to defend, but
Right.
for the adultery one, that
The problem with that I have with all of this is that I don't think you have any textual, because so far what you've told me is just church dogma, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think there is no textual warrant for that. And I was going to say on the debate with Craig and First Amender, I asked a question towards the end, one question, and I had them run away. And that question, it slipped my mind now.
Okay, I'll give you a textual one.
The verse.
Oh,
the verse. There's no verse that tells you you're not supposed to keep the law anymore.
Yes, sure there is a super good example. So like in the book of Acts, I think it is, some of the disciples have a dream about eating certain foods that they absolutely should not be allowed to eat. And I forget exactly how the story goes. Maybe we want to look it up. And then and they are taught, no, you can absolutely eat these foods. So this was like definitely 100% saying this rule in the Old Testament you don't have to follow anymore. Another example of a rule in the Old Testament that in the New Testament is directly like you don't have to follow this anymore is circumcision. Like the whole book of Galatians is about circumcision and whether you needed to do circumcision or not. And so therefore,
okay, wait, hold on. Because now this is another like huge ass topic. Like, who the fuck cares what Paul said? That's my first problem with that.
if you're going to reject all of Paul, that's fine, but you're not really arguing with Christians anymore.
No, I
You're
understand.
Yeah.
The book of
Yeah,
Acts.
you can't make the argument that Dr. J has just said there's no biblical source for something and then reject a huge chunk of the biblical source.
Paul's
Well,
like the
I
most.
Yeah, but
And Acts is not written by Paul.
no, you're right. You're right. My bad. That was a lame deflection of me. Okay.
Galatians was, but
So, but okay, let's say you now have. I mean, we can take it in parts. You now have. Okay, you can eat the forbidden meat or whatever. Now, it never says anything else about others. Or do you have like more examples?
well,
Because what I usually get is Jesus, the verse of I've come to fulfill the law, and that is just a misunderstanding on what the word fulfill even means.
So there's tons of arguments about what the word fulfill means, right? Christians
Yes.
argue about what the word fulfill means. But
Yes.
what it seems to have to partly mean is things like you're allowed to eat these foods when you weren't allowed to before. That 100% is a part of the change. Does that make sense? So it's not it's not a very big leap to say, okay, well, if we don't have to follow the rules about eating foods anymore, we probably don't have to follow the rules about stoning people either as well. As a matter of fact, the only part a majority of Christians take from the Old Testament that they would bring on a New Testament is the moral law, which is the 10 Commandments, but they don't even accept all of those. They only usually accept 9 of them because they mostly don't accept the Sabbath, at least in the form that the Jews had.
Right.
It. So
can I just ask,
inconsistency all over.
Yeah, but Max, just for a bit of clarification here. So your problem seems to be, okay, God has introduced a set of rules over time, and then Jesus comes along and he contradicts some previous rules that were given
by himself.
By himself, yeah, which is fine. But what is wrong with changing the rules that, like, we change the rules for children as they grow and get older and the circumstances change? Like,
correct,
we allow them to take on more risk, which like we say to children, like, you're not allowed to smoke, you're not allowed to get tattoos, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that, and then they get to the age of 18 and we go, okay, you can do all those things now. What's contradictory about that?
The problem is that they will absolutely claim, incorrectly, I might add, also, they would claim objective morality. But number one, they're definitionally wrong, because if the morality comes from the mind of God, it's definitionally subjective. There's no way around that.
Yeah, I don't.
And even if I grant you objective, then God, that means that God changed his mind. So this idea of this, we have a perfect moral system because it's objective from God, it's all bullshit. Well, you're just digging deeper hole. Like you dug a hole down and now you're digging holes to the side.
So I think arguing that Christians don't really have that the objective moral standard that they think they do is a fine argument. But saying they don't have, they are just stupid in interpreting their Bibles and thinking that the rule for stoning adulterers isn't in effect anymore. I don't think that's that hard of an interpretive understanding of the text. I don't think that's that hard of a.
I don't know. Like, for example, right now, so far, what we are is because there is a passage that tells people that they can now eat some of the forbidden foods,
which means that
we are now extrapolating that to all of the laws.
And what did
I don't think that's fair.
What did Jesus say about the adultery? What did Jesus specifically say about adultery? If you have lust in your heart, right? The lust in your heart thing.
Yeah,
right?
you have. And wait, isn't that the first stone thing?
The passage about lust in your heart, right? Where is that passage?
Oh, I don't remember the verse. No, but there's the last passage, and then I thought you were talking about when they are about to stone the adulteress. Sorry, hiccups.
Let me see if I can find that. It's in one of the gospels,
Because there are
obviously.
two things, right? I mean, I think I
So in
totally
Matthew,
moved
in
away from
Matthew,
lust.
in Matthew 5:27 through 28, it says, "You have heard it was said, you shall not commit adultery." So specifically mentions adultery. But I tell you that anyone who looks at a woman lustfully has already committed adultery with her in his heart. So he is um saying that lust is bad. Like it's basically like this committing of adultery. But do we think that Jesus is saying we should stone everybody? No. This seems like a shift.
Another contradiction.
Sure, you could argue it's a contradiction, but
Yeah.
but what Christians are saying is we are now saying yes, it was lust was and adultery was a sin in the Old Testament. It's a sin in the New Testament. It's just in the Old Testament we stone people for it, in the New Testament we don't. So yes, the punishment changes, but the moral didn't change. This wouldn't be that
Mm,
big a deal. Even with your kids, you might say, okay, this is wrong, this is going to be the punishment, and then maybe realize that punishment was too soft or that punishment was too harsh, and change the punishment or whatever. It wouldn't even, your moral code wouldn't have even changed.
Well,
All you're doing is changing the punishment for it.
well, of course. Like, so for example, like if a young child punches another young child, then we don't get the police involved and charge them with aggravated assault. We sit the child down and explain to them why they shouldn't do that. So the punishment might be a timeout in the corner and an explanation. But then once they get into adulthood, if they punch somebody else, then the police get involved and they get charged with aggravated assault, dependent on the circumstances, and they might end up with a fine or suspended sentence or in prison. And then eventually, when that person's in their 80s and they've got Alzheimer's and they punch somebody, then the punishment changes again. That doesn't mean that there's inconsistency there. So I don't
Yeah,
really.
I think there's fine consistency on the adultery. If you want to get Christians on the consistency issue and morals, I think the slavery route is the absolute hardest
Yeah.
one to defend.
yeah,
I
but
guess
that's what everyone does. That's why I don't do that.
But
Yeah,
I
well,
guess Max, like, because you're internally critiquing religion, and obviously you know me, I'm an agnostic. Like I don't believe in a god, but I'm not going to tell you that one doesn't exist. So and I don't like my morality, other than culturally, doesn't come from the Bible. But if it's being critiqued internally, I do agree with Dr. J. Like slavery is definitely the better route to go down. But just with the principle of like Aldebrand said it in the chat, but God's supposed to be all knowing. So therefore, changing his mind through time doesn't make sense. Well,
Yeah,
I actually reject. I reject that premise because
but he
God is
did
giving.
change his mind.
No, he didn't change his. He didn't. He could have known full well in advance that he was going to have to implement these rules 1,500 years after the Garden of Eden. But the circumstances that the rules were revealed as necessary for humanity for the circumstances of the time. How on earth would we navigate the Bible if it was just a copy of it in its entirety was given to Adam and Eve when they're in the Garden of Eden? It would have made no sense to them. It needed to be contextual for the person reading it, not the person who is giving them the
Mm,
rules.
I
Right?
disagree.
In the same way as we do with children, we don't like pop out a child and hand them the legal code for the country that they live in. We pass it out in a method that they're going to understand for their ability to understand it at their development. Right?
yeah, it's called progressive revelation. They usually call it in the
Yeah.
theological terms. You're learning things progressively. So we don't have to go on this too long, or whatever. But
No, let me read a couple of messages.
yeah,
But I mean, we could talk about that a lot. I like that topic. Godens said, well said, when we were talking about drugs, that was to me. In Switzerland, we try for damage minimizing to treat addiction by giving out drugs controlled on prescription, heroin, and they also try cochineal now. What the hell is that?
What cochineal is red food dye. It's made from beetles.
That is true, yeah.
I don't know if that's a typo. I'm not sure what.
Maybe it's a typo, or maybe it's autocorrect or something.
Maybe.
Max, people die from alcohol and kill others every single day. Cocaine, he meant. Got it.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
This one was from before. Golden said again, Aftershow from MTV sucks. Golden doesn't like MTV, but yeah, I mean that was for the longest time the bread and butter content that we make, and I love doing Aftershow. So they are going to continue. I love it. No, you mustn't amnesty the cartel. So he praised me on the one before, and now throws a bit of a jab at me, and I take it. You mustn't amnesty the cartels. They're criminals. Drugs are only a part. Heavy is trafficking people and weapons dealing, etc. Yes, but my argument to that would be, if you are a criminal organization making millions illegally, exposing yourself to a lifetime in a federal prison in the US, and now all of a sudden you have an amnesty to just legally sell cocaine, why would you even want to do the other crimes? It would stop being there would not be an incentive to do that anymore when you can just keep your millions, get amnesty for many crimes from the past, put a complete stop to violence, and just compete like everyone else in a capitalistic system. I think that would yield the best results.
Do they
I
need to
completely
amnesty? Don't need to amnesty them, because if we knew they were criminals right now, we'd be arresting them. I mean, I guess maybe not in Mexico, but in the U.S., if you were like worth arresting, we would be arresting you now.
Well,
So I don't know why they would need an amnesty.
I think the problem with this one, Max, is in principle, it's one thing to have, like, for example, an amnesty on illegally owning a firearm. You know, like you go and turn the firearm in, and there's not necessarily a human harm that's been done. Like that illegally owned firearm could have been in somebody's basement or something like that, and it never actually did any real world harm. The crime is just owning the firearm in and of itself. So amnesties for stuff like that, I don't think, in the same way as sort of like an amnesty on illegal immigration, like what's going on in the US right now with like, you know, dragging tax-paying citizens out of the country, but like it's way too draconian. I would actually be more in favor of an amnesty that covers people who have not committed a crime other than entering the country illegally. I'd rather those people were given amnesty and the actual ones that had committed crimes were removed. But when you're talking about amnesties for criminal cartels, regardless of the positive impact of the amnesty, I could not in good conscience endorse an amnesty for people that are directly responsible for like the sex trafficking of children. There is no hell that could be.
No, but I wasn't talking about that. I was talking about giving them an amnesty for the cocaine dealing, not for the other stuff.
Well, then you're not giving them an amnesty, are you? Because they hold their hands up and go, "Hey, here's like," they can't just reveal, like, what are we going to do? Give them an amnesty for the drugs and still let them continue to traffic kids? Like,
yeah, no, that's what I was telling you. That I think this hasn't been done anywhere, so we would need to actually try it. Mm-hmm. But I think that if you own a cartel and you have that looming threat of lifetime in prison in a federal in like Florence, what's the name, ADF Florence or some shit like that, that there's no incentive. If you can be a millionaire just by doing cocaine dealing legally, then why would you even want to do all the other crimes? It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. No, so I get that, but the problem is at the point at which that you institute the amnesty. So you've got you've got Mr. Garcia or whatever, who's got this criminal empire, and the government approaches him because we do know who these people are. They're just protected by corruption, and or they're so powerful. Like some of these cartels have, like, they've bought whole paramilitary units that have been trained by the US. They've corrupted them. They've bought them. You know, some of these drug cartels have special forces trained soldiers fighting for them. Like, it's not like a regular police officer can just rock up to the door and arrest them. They're going to get killed. Their family's going to get killed. These are brutal people. So I guess the principle of going, right, okay, here's an amnesty for the drugs. Formalize your business, incorporate it, pay the taxes, you'll be super rich. And for the drugs, you're no longer at risk of being arrested. We've eliminated that risk for you. But Mr. Garcia is still, even if he stops trafficking children today, is still guilty of the historical crimes of trafficking children. So let's say, for argument's sake,
Prosecute them.
yeah, but what I'm saying is that doesn't, then what's the point in them if you're just going to say legalize this part of your business and stop doing this part of the business, but then we're going to prosecute you historically for the historical crimes of this part of the business, then you've just eliminated the motivation for them legalizing any part of their business. Now, you might be able to make the argument that we're just going
I
to
don't see
ignore
why.
these, because the whole point of legalizing and motivating them to legalize the drug part of their business is to avoid either prison or being executed for the crimes historically for the drugs. But we're not exonerating them for the historic crimes of trafficking children, which in part go along with the drug business because they use the same routes for smuggling the drugs as they do for smuggling the people. And it's a profitable part of their business. Now, the only way I see this working is if you go, okay, you, Mr. Garcia, we're going to let you off for all of it. And then when the next generation of this cartel comes in who doesn't have the motivation for smuggling the kids, but is able to legally produce the drugs, they're not legal of the smuggling the children crime, but they're not guilty of the smuggling the children crime because they didn't have the motivation to do it. So what my question is, are we okay with letting off the current generation of cartel leaders and cartel members, not only for the historic drug crimes, but also for all of the other crimes that go along with the drug trade, in order to be able to make drugs, the drugs that they produce legally?
No. There are no. The only other crimes that are connected to the drug trade is when the cartels fight each other. The other crimes, they're other crimes. So if you have a cartel, but then you also have a small band of car thieves, then if they catch you being the leader of a band of car thieves, then you're liable for that. That doesn't have to change for us to legalize cocaine.
I think it does, because it's the same person. It's not like you've got it's not like you've got, like, okay, Mr. Garcia is head of the drug operation for this cartel, and then you've got Mr. whoever is head of the child smuggling portion of the cartel, and we're going to let Mr. Garcia off, and Mr. whoever else, well, their portion of the business is still illegal. It's the same person, and the only way this works, if you can motivate that
Different
person.
crime, John.
I know it's a different crime, but
if you're a criminal, career criminal, and you steal cars and also sell drugs, if they catch you on one, but they don't catch you on the other, they don't get anything. They don't get, like, you for doing cocaine, for selling cocaine. They get you over the car thefts.
So going back to the gun amnesty thing, so, like, let's say somebody hands a gun in, and they run and they do a ballistics test on the gun, and they find out that the gun has got, like, a body attached to it, like there's a homicide attached to it. So we're giving them amnesty for turning in the gun, right? But we're not giving them amnesty for committing a murder, right? So if somebody turns in, the only reason that the person who turns in a gun that's got a body attached to it is because the gun amnesty is anonymized, so we don't know who turned in the gun. But in principle, if we knew who turned in the gun under the gun amnesty, they wouldn't get charged with illegal gun possession, but if there was a body on the gun, they would still get charged for the murder. So what's the motivation for the person who owns the illegal gun, who has committed a homicide with it, waving it in front of the police and going, "Here, take this gun, Mr. Police Officer"? The vast majority of the guns that are handed in on gun amnesties do not have a crime attached to them. And I'm telling you that the drug smuggling operation has the additional crime of child smuggling attached to it. So you can't forgive the one without having to forgive the other. I know they're different crimes. Like, illegal gun ownership is a separate crime to killing somebody, but it's like
there's lots of people that have illegal guns that haven't killed anybody with them.
No, I understand that, and I don't think there are like cartels that engage in drug smuggling and don't really engage in the smuggling of people. But I'm just, like, because there are so many other crimes which are attached to you would have to just, like, turn a blind eye to the people smuggling.
I don't think you would. I specifically laid out how and how I also think that, because these guys, I know a bunch of drug dealers, and I've spoken with them for many years because I started smoking weed when I was 14. So it's in for an inch, in for a mile kind of a thing. If you're already at the mercy of getting caught, then you have no incentive to not do all the crimes. So when you're a career criminal, that's what tends to happen. You start as a drug dealer and then you have to off someone, you do that, and then you get the opportunity to, traffic some people, you do that, you get the opportunity to do worse and worse crimes. That's kind of what happens. Now, if you can have a great life, a millionaire life, without being subject to that, I don't see the incentive why any sane person will continue to do all of the other crimes when you can just live a millionaire legal life and not having to run away from the police.
So, like, again, I get that, but what I'm saying is, so you've got a cartel, and I'm not suggesting that somebody in the chat said like, oh yeah, drug dealing equals child trafficking always. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that like the person shilling the smack on the street is responsible for trafficking children. The actual dealer that interacts with the end user, I'm not making them responsible for child trafficking. What I'm saying is the person that controls the smuggling routes doesn't just use them for smuggling drugs. They use them for smuggling drugs, guns, and people. The same hole in the ground, the same tunnel, the same bit of the fence, the same submarine, the same boat.
No, that's where you're wrong. The 90% of drug trafficking goes through shipping methods, airplanes, boats.
Okay,
you're completely incorrect on that.
You're probably taking me too literally. Like when I say, or I was being too literal. Yeah, I'm not like the cigar boat that's traveling drugs or the shipping container that's got the drugs in it isn't exactly the same shipping container, but the criminal institution is responsible for both. It's illegally transporting goods across the border. It's the same. It's the same thing. And if you're going to legalize part of the business, and as your objective here is to open it up to regulation, right?
Yeah.
And to open it up to regulation means there needs to be a degree of transparency to it.
Yeah.
So if there's a degree of transparency to it, when you're applying regulation to this business, when there's high degree of integration between the drug smuggling, the gun smuggling, and the people smuggling, the people who are coming along to investigate the business, investigate its infrastructure, investigate where the money's going, make sure there's no money laundering going on, etc. How on the God's green earth do we separate out the proceeds and the infrastructure from people smuggling historically, which they're no longer doing because the business has now been legalized, with the bit from the drug smuggling?
Well,
The authorities would
I see
have
what you're
to
saying,
turn a
but I
blind eye
think
to it.
I think your percentages might just be super far off. What percentage of people involved in illegal drug stuff also are involved in child trafficking?
Well, when we're talking about the
Nice.
cartels, I suspect
No,
it
we're
would
not
be
talking about
minorities.
cartels. We're talking about everybody. In all of people that are involved with drugs that it's illegal, selling,
quite
making,
a small number.
cutting,
Yeah,
quite a small number. So
but we're talking about motivations, though, aren't we? We're talking about the people at the head of the business here. Obviously, there are going to be some people within the cartels.
The people at the head of the business, even if they get amnesty for the drugs, isn't going to help them much because drugs is going to be the least of their problem. But if you're willing to agree, a majority of people involved in the illegal drug trade aren't involved in the child trafficking stuff, then you're agreeing that there would be a lot of people that would be amnestied and it would be fine.
Yeah, but the motivations that we're trying to affect here are the people who are in charge of the business, not the gophers
not
that are shilling the
necessarily,
drugs on the
because
street.
the people in charge of the business, if they can't get all the other people to work for them anymore because they can go do it legally now and they can't actually hire them, then you're basically cutting off the finances of the bosses. By the way, I also feel like we've been watching way too much Narcos or something. Unless these people are in different countries, if the U.S. knew who the bad guys were and had evidence on them, we would send in whatever it took to go arrest them. That's not like there's some holdup somewhere in some sort of they've got some small army in Utah somewhere that are our cops can't get to. That's absolutely not how it
No,
works.
I completely concede that if the US wanted to send in the military to go and grab these
They don't even.
people, that
They don't.
they could.
Yeah. They know
Um,
who. There is nobody that they want to arrest that they couldn't arrest in the
Yep.
U.S.
in the US,
So
yeah, no,
we got a little
yeah,
bit
absolutely,
carried away with the with this
yeah.
tangent
Yeah.
because of the
Ca-
claim that this guy made
Yeah.
of
Can
the
I?
Christian thing. I bet the cartels would lose interest when they find it cuts into the bottom lines. I'm not sure what Zumi meant with that, and she left. So never mind. I think I have more notes. Give me a second. I think Isa might have fallen asleep.
I'm sure that's what happened. I'm
Yeah.
almost sure.
Can I
I
just
mean,
ask?
after the booty call, he fell asleep. Is what we
Yeah,
know.
of course. I mean, that's what you do.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully not during. You know.
No, that is bad. You will never hear the end of it.
Can I just ask, Max, how obviously I know Fugazi wasn't endearing himself to you from the get-go, but how enraged were you when he stated that a woman was past her sexual prime when she was over the age of 40?
Oh my fucking god! That's a great question. Do you want to know what my response to that was? Because I didn't do it on our Discord. I did it on another group Discord chat that I have. And I was like, does this guy not know that they are what MILFs are or what even GILFs are? Like, that's why I was saying that he strikes me as a very insecure man, that he just can't handle women being able to get away from him because he's insecure. Like, if you're a strong, if you're a strong person, having a woman that doesn't have to be with you but chooses to be with you every day, that is the best. They cannot handle that. They just cannot.
Yeah,
I just saw the time, guys. I have got to go. I got to work tomorrow. I actually have to finish my chapter to get ready for my stream at noon tomorrow. So I have absolutely got to get going. Good to talk to everybody, but I better bounce. See you guys later.
Take care. Thank you,
That's
Dr.
Yep.
J. Right, let me. We'll do that, but remove Isa. There we go. Yeah, that was that. I was fuming with that one. Like, motherfucker. That's when women get That's when women are the best. A 40-year-old recently divorcee with a grudge. Like, what are we talking about?
like a fine wine for Max.
Like a fine, exactly.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
this guy was a complete contradiction, because then he said that he is in a long-term relationship, but he's not married, but had the nerve of saying, like, oh, yeah, I appeal to Christian values. No, you don't. No,
yeah, I
you
mean,
don't.
it was very frustrating. That, like, again, like with not establishing, just declaring that this is bad, therefore responsibility or accountability, but never actually attempting to establish that something was bad. That he did it with a few things. Like,
Yeah.
And it's weird. Nothing was ever seemed to be resolved. I mean, we couldn't even agree on what accountability was. We couldn't even they couldn't even agree within the stick to the debate and the period of time that we're talking about. Like, the prompt was very clear, like, accountability today. There was
the
a bit of
only argument was porn is bad, and alcohol is bad, and drugs are bad. And the other thing, the thing about crime, like, the guy talked about crime and he had no awareness of degrees and had a bunch of other stuff. Then they got into that whole conversation about the meaning of burden and the biblical aspects of that. And no, it's like this guy has 400,000 subs.
And there is a grain of truth to sentencing between men and women for the same crime. And obviously, the discussion around mens rea, the motivation for committing a crime, is almost always taken into account.
Yeah.
Like the outcome might be the same. Obviously, there's a distinction between intentionally running somebody over in your car and accidentally running somebody over in your car. You've still got a dead person, but the intent is critical, because from the perspective of corrective justice and recidivism, if somebody intentionally runs somebody over in their car compared to accidentally running somebody over in their car, then the person who did it with intent is obviously going to have a higher potential for recidivism. Therefore, a higher sentence may be necessary. But even once you account for historic crimes, previous criminal records, and the motivations for committing the crime in the first place, women do tend to get lesser sentences. I think the last time I looked it up, like the average custodial sentence for women, once accounted for all of the different variations, is like 13 or 14 months, and for men it's 21 months.
So this came up at the end of the debate, and when only Jen and the dialogue guy was still there, and Jen, I mean, dialogue made a great argument that that doesn't mean that we don't hold them accountable. That means that we give them a little bit more leeway on the sentencing. And Jen's answer was that that's a distinction without a difference, or some shit like that. And it's like, no, that is it's exactly what's happening. Is that on some level, at the judicial level, we kind of infantilize women over the same crime.
I think it depends if you want to introduce into the debate topic degrees of accountability, or just accountability as a yes no. If the discussion is about yes no, then yes, women are held accountable. If you want to start getting into the gradations of accountability, then obviously it's relevant. And one of the things that is often cited, I think justifiably so, with what has an impact on sentencing for women in a lot of circumstances, can be, like, for example, if they're a single mother or something like that. The crime could be so egregious that it is absolutely, a custodial sentence is absolutely necessary. But then they're obviously weighing that, like, could a child, if they've got a dependent that could go and stay with like an aunt or the grandparents or something for a short period of time, but wouldn't really be viable over a protracted period, is the needs of the child need to be taken into account, and might that impact sentencing considerations? There are a lot of countries that do take stuff like that into account, which obviously isn't, that there are a lot more single mothers than there are single fathers. So it would, if you're going to take that into account, you would expect to see that. I don't know if that is or isn't controlled for in the data. So,
no, and also the fact that a lot of this argument hinges on the exact same crime, which you can have the same title, but there's attenuating and aggravating circumstances, then there's the whole motive thing. So it's very unlikely that you can actually have two crimes that are the same.
Agreed.
So his whole argument was like dumb. Aldebaran says Burden was being used by Fugazee as a gotcha, and he failed miserably. Yeah, when he laughed, and I was like, "What the fuck are you laughing at? You didn't win that exchange." That was funny. But what a it baffles me that that this dummy could get 400,000 subs being just a dumbass.
Well, the thing that surprised me is, well, I suppose it didn't surprise me that much, because it almost always is. But the thing that I was mostly disappointed about is that there was almost no discussion about, like, this was, it was very much a Western focused discussion with regards to accountability. But when you look, this argument becomes the historical argument that was made by Jen, because there are a lot of countries in the world that are very backwards with regards to women's rights. It would have made much more sense from her, when she introduced her historical argument about accountability, to start looking elsewhere in the world and introduce cultures where women are basically chattel and they have no accountability. Right. If you aggregate across the globe, then her argument would have made a lot more sense. But she didn't, as far as I can recall, didn't attempt to do that at all.
No, it was mostly America focused.
Yeah. And it's not like women stop being women when they cross the US or the UK or the European border. So I don't know why that would have made much more sense. And I like when she was doing her opening, I was kind of expecting that might be something that she segued into. That's the only way I can apply it to in the prompt where it's specified like currently today.
I think that the no side, the only argument they have, the only one, is abortion. Because we generally don't let people kill other people, but we let pregnant women abort their fetuses. That's the only argument they have.
Yeah, and I do.
It's a shitty argument, but it's the only one they have. When if they want to talk accountability, like for example, the guy went to the old fucking talking point of the birth rate. Like, yeah,
that was
dude.
mental.
Like, number one, why do you even care about birth rates? And why are you putting the responsibility of the species on half of the species? On only half? Like, what? It makes no sense. Then they talked about no fault divorce. That was just his insecurities coming out, like, oh, don't leave me, please. I don't want you to be able to leave, and having women be like, he talked about the roles and so on. So he wants his woman in the house, taking care of the children, not working, not being able to run away. So this guy, what he basically wants is legally sanctioned kidnapping.
Yeah,
That's what he
it's weird.
wants.
Like he's saying that women don't have accountability, but if you applied his worldview in its entirety, women wouldn't have accountability because they'd essentially be indentured servitude.
Yeah.
And how can you have accountability when you're essentially a slave? And
then complain about with that worldview, and that's why I say this guy is a walking contradiction, because with that worldview, he doesn't want women like in the workforce, doesn't feel like women should get alimony and child support. It's like, dude, what the fuck do you want? Is it that you want that you're married and that's it? You screwed yourself for life?
I mean, it depends. Yeah, and like the alimony. I think there is potentially an argument to be made around some aspects of like the family courts. It's tricky for me because I am an advocate of like the nuclear family. I am a traditionalist with regards to family structure. As much as I'm not a religious traditionalist, so I don't have a problem with, like, for example, same-sex couples having kids or adopting or anything like that. I'd much rather see children in loving family units, regardless of the composition. Mum, dad, mum, dad. I'd just rather them not be in foster care and not be a part of social services. I'd rather them be in a loving family unit. That just makes far more sense to me from the welfare of the children. Even if you can find,
but your family unit also includes like two parents, two dads, right?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have. But
I don't necessarily disagree with that. It's like, yeah, sure. When you have two parents, you get the best results because you have two people looking after one or more persons, but you have two. You have a team versus a solo person that has to work and also take care of the children and so on. So yeah, absolutely. There is an argument to be made that is usually leads to better results.
Absolutely, and I think that it is much more like it. Outside of the most extreme of circumstances, it would be utter madness to take a young child away from the mother in favor of the father if the mother was capable of looking after the child. And when I say young, I'm talking sort of like 1, 2, 3, 4. Those young children typically bond much more with the mother, both boys and girls, in the early years than they do with the father. And obviously, that's probably a product of child bonding through like breastfeeding, etc. Like my wife spent much more time with our children in the first 18 months when she was breastfeeding, etc. Because like when one of them woke up screaming in the middle of the night, it wouldn't make much sense for me to go to the cot to try and breastfeed them. So this like the soothing person, the calming effect, that the person who my children bonded with in that way was almost always my wife. That's not to say that I didn't want to get involved. Obviously, we did like do express and have bottles and stuff, but frankly, the kids just preferred being on the breast, and
Yeah,
which I
but
could
the
relate to.
problem with that argument is that children do not remember that time at all.
Well, they
What
don't.
happens more is
They don't.
after 3, 4, 5, 6 that they start actually forming
Yeah.
memories. And I am closer to my dad than my mom because my dad used to work nights, so he was the one with us in the afternoons.
Yeah.
And he used to take us bike riding and fishing and this and that.
I'm not. I'm not claiming it. I'm not claiming it as a universal. I'm not saying that it is that way all the way through the life of the child. Like I
Yeah,
actually
sure.
found the same thing. Like I ended up like in my early years, like because my dad was very much the disciplinarian of the household, at my mother's behest, because she didn't really have the heart to do it, even when we needed a bit of a stern talking to. So in the early years, I was much closer to my mother, and then like playing football and rugby and stuff like that, so that's something that like boxing, martial arts, that's something that my dad and I did together. So that bonding changed. But the reason I raise it at all, I don't really want to get into a biological essentialism argument and what have you. On average, we see a lot more children being with the mothers when mothers and fathers separate than we do with the fathers. So it makes complete sense that more money in family court goes towards the mother, because there are more costs. There is a
Yeah.
requirement
And
when you
they're
split
the
those
ones
units.
keeping the children. But then
Um,
they forgot, towards the end, a statistic brought up that from the men who actually fight to get their custody, they get it granted on a 95% rate. And that is a lot. So all you have to fucking do is want to be a parent. That's it. And
yeah,
you fight for
yeah,
custody, or you can
yeah,
share it. And
and that,
also, he's conveniently forgetting that if you are a stay at home dad, you can get alimony and child support from your freaking wife.
yeah, in the UK, it's become we've got an organisation called Dads for Justice, and they pull it. You don't tend to see them so much anymore because there have been some recent law changes. I say recent, in the last sort of 5 to 6 years or so. But they used to do things like they dress up in like Batman and Superman costumes and climb up the side of buildings to do protests and stuff to try and get the laws changed to make it more fair. It used to be in UK law that there was a default assumption that the child would stay with the mother, and I can't remember the specifics of it, but that was slightly changed to account for it. The problem with the family courts in the UK is they're they're there's something about them, and I can't remember exactly what it is, but they're not accountable for their decisions in the same way as, for example, civil and criminal courts are. Like, and it's to do with prioritizing the welfare of the child over the rights of either parent. Which there are going to be people that get caught up in that net and feel that they've been treated unfairly. But if a father is prepared, or a mother is prepared to be present, and it's determined that they're not of a danger to the child, that is taken into account now in a way that it wasn't historically. And I think that's got a lot to do with the changing of like the work balance. Like, we do now live in households where both mums and dads, husbands and wives, both tend to work equally outside of that initial maternity/paternity period shortly after the child is born.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Fugazi,
It's funny because we have an audience member that is also a Fugazee, but Fugazi. So I kept like going, and every time the name comes up, my brain does a little spin because that's
He,
the
he,
Fugazi that I know.
he said something else that was that was complete madness, and I can't remember. You mentioned it a second ago before we started talking about like the what was it? Oh crap! That's gonna annoy me. What were the things that you mentioned? Like like some of the crazy arguments? Because I did want to. I'm having a bit of a brain fart.
Well,
But
he talked about the porn, the no fault divorce,
yeah,
hold on. Hello, welcome.
What's up, fellas?
How you doing?
Hi.
I'm great.
Good. How are you, Max?
Pretty chilling.
So
Welcome.
yes,
You
so
didn't
I-
have to ask. You know that if you see the link there, you just click it and you come aboard. No,
well, yeah, but I
no-
don't want to just like hop on without saying anything. But
no problem. No, you can just. Everyone is free to just click the link and hop on.
well, I know that now. Thank you, Max.
You got it.
All right,
While
so-
I try to think back on what John asked of me, you said you wanted to share something with us, so go right ahead.
Yes, so I am a divorced guy with two kids. So everybody's kind of swirling around this about how divorce works. Okay, so when I got married, my ex-wife, she didn't have a job. It was just her and I. She would take care of the kids, and I would go to work. I was the breadwinner. So, childcare costs are extremely expensive, so it was kind of cheaper for her to stay home with the kids. So she was making this much and I was making this much. We got divorced. So what the court wants to do is try and keep a balance, court balance. So basically they said, okay, well, Peter, you must give this much money so your wife has this much money, and she has the kids because you go to work and essentially child support. So then it kind of went like that. So that's why men are terrified of divorcing, because they end up at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to finances. So essentially when they say it's cheaper to keep her, that's true. But at what cost?
Yeah, it's broadly speaking the same in the UK. So what tends to happen here with the terms of how like you say how the money goes, a lot of dads who are involved, even post a divorce, will pursue for 50-50 custody, because then essentially, instead of like you say, like your finance was up here, but what she earned was up here, and what you earned was down here, and let's say for argument's sake you earned $100,000 and she earned $50,000, you've got $150,000 in the pot. If she keeps the kids, then that happens. Whereas if you have 50-50 custody on the kids, then that happens.
Yes.
So,
yes.
And you can make the argument like total costs don't actually stay the same. So say, for example, you've got two children and they're 9 and 12, then they're probably not going to want to share a bedroom. So that means all of you were living in a 3 or a 4 bedroom house, and now you need 2 3-bedroom houses in order to accommodate all of the children, because they're 1 week with you and 1 week with the mum. So it's broadly speaking the same here with it in terms of intent, but there's a lot of little nuances that occur, like if like, for example, the dad works in a car manufacturing and he works shifts and he doesn't work regular time, then his childcare commitments might be very irregular. And whereas if the wife is like an administrator in an office of some kind and it's Monday to Friday 9 till 5, her childcare is much more predictable. There's all sorts of stuff that they try and equalize for, and you can never completely equalize for it. There's always something that doesn't seem quite right.
Absolutely. And on both sides too, the wife doesn't think she doesn't get enough while you think she's getting too much. So there's never any agreement or balance between the two ex couples. But yes.
Right. Yes. But again, what I think is that from Fugazi's point of view, that is a shitty argument because number one, it doesn't mean that women are not held accountable. It just means that when it comes to the very specific, narrow margin topic of broken families, women have a little bit of advantage. Kind of makes up for the constant barrage of sexual assaults and discrimination and pay gap that women have had historically. So I don't see how that makes his argument in any kind of way. And he was like, I'm so great at debating. I laid my arguments concisely and directly. It's like, yeah, and all of your arguments were absolute shit.
I mean, the only area where I would probably give ground is, as you mentioned very briefly, Max, and that was around the whole like pregnancy and abortion. It is absolutely the case that the biological fathers, as to whether a pregnancy is carried to term, they might have a say if they're in a relationship and their wife partner cares about their opinion. But there's no legislative infrastructure that allows a biological father to have input on whether a pregnancy is carried to term. I think the reasons for that are fairly obvious, but practically that does end up in the situation where if a woman who has engaged in sex, protected or otherwise, wants to avoid the responsibility and or the accountability for a pregnancy, they exclusively have that right and men have zero say. Now, I think in an ideal world, if we could somehow give men a say in that, where it is potentially their progeny that's on the line, it would be nice to do. I think everybody would be okay with that. The problem is, how the fuck do you do it?
It's nice, but it can't be done. It's
exactly
nice,
yeah.
but it can't be done.
And again, if I'm talking with Fugazee, it's like, yeah, should have been a woman. I mean, God gave them all the power.
And
the Bible is pro-abortion, so you're fucked either way. Deal with it. And that's what I get. It's like, dude, they're super insecure. They found this woman that they latched onto, and because she doesn't work and so on, it's like she's there, but he's still super scared that she will go away. So what he wants to actually happen is for women not to have the chance to get the fuck away from him.
Well, just quickly, like Who Done It said, men get a say when they're the ones to give birth. If you're talking legally, I completely agree with you. If you're talking about being able to offer their opinion and engage in debate, I completely disagree with you, because fully half of the pregnancies that are aborted are men. So when you say like men get a say when it affects them, it does, because both males and females are being aborted. You can make the argument about more females are being aborted because there might be a societal preference for boys in some cultures, but globally that technically that's true, but I don't think it has an impact in terms of whether men get a say on the moral discussion around abortion. But legally, I completely
hold on, because you just did a switcheroo there.
No,
because we were talking about the men that are the parents, not the men that are the fetuses, feti, or whatever.
No, what I'm talking about is in a specific relationship. If you've got man, woman, they've had sex and it's resulted in a pregnancy, and we can objectively demonstrate that the man is the male combatant and the female is the female combatant. In an ideal world, would it be good if we could somehow give a legal say for the man and a legal say for the woman? I think if we could do that, we can, but just by virtue of the biology, and it is the fact that the woman bears 100% of the biological burden for pregnancy, breastfeeding, etc., then really she's the only one that gets to say from a legal point of view. Now, what I'm saying is, if you want to talk, but if we're talking about that society-wide on the discussion around what should and shouldn't be allowed with regards to abortion, both male babies and female babies are being aborted, and that to me gives justification for both men to have a say in the social discussion. So what I was saying with Who Done It there,
no, the fact that your kid why would having a male child give the dude any kind of say? And in any case, I think discussing this hypothetical is completely pointless because you could
Well,
never force a woman to give birth based on the thoughts of a man. No, you
no, I'm
could
not
never
saying
do
that
that.
we. No,
I
but
mean,
what? So, but,
woman would go to the extreme. I would guess. I'm putting myself on Miss Max here. Like, if you want to force me to give birth, I will just jump off of a building.
But how
no,
does the
but
man know it's his baby though? Like a woman could just be like,
That's
"Oh yeah,
also
that's
true.
this man's baby," and then
yeah. Well,
which man gets to decide who? Yeah.
obviously, for the sake of the principle of the debate, I was assuming we were setting aside false paternity. Obviously, false paternity happens, but no. What I was talking about is like we all take part in society. We're all part of the society. We're all part of the culture, and what I'm getting at is that there tends to be a an argument of you don't get an opinion because you're a man and I'm the one that has to give birth, as in the woman is assuming the risk and the woman is assuming the harm. But when you go through an abortion, you can't tell me that male babies aren't harmed because they're killed. Like it or not, that is an outcome of the abortion. So if
No,
you're
no,
telling me
no,
that
no,
I
no, no,
don't get
wait.
a
No,
say
no, no, no,
because
no. Hold
I'm a
on, stop.
man, because I don't,
Stop.
uh,
Stop.
like
Babies don't get
societally, that
aborted. Fetuses get aborted. And to
yeah.
be fair, hold on. When does I mean it's from the chromosomes. So I mean yes, the sex of the fetus is determined from the moment of conception because it's one egg, one sperm. That's kind of
Yeah.
determined. But uh
I guess
the differentiation doesn't happen until way later, so I don't even understand what you're arguing for.
well,
And also it's pointless because it will never happen. Men will never be able to force a woman to give birth
Well, no, but
ever.
where this comes into play, for example, is like in the UK, abortions are legal up to 24 weeks.
Yes.
All a woman needs to do is they need to present themselves to a doctor or a clinic, and there's a two doctor sign off. So you need two doctors to certify it. It almost always there is almost no circumstance where it wouldn't be, and up to 24 weeks that's legally where that sits in the UK. Different states in the US have different laws. What I'm saying is that if as a society you say, well, men don't get to have an opinion on whether that should be, say, for example, like the technology's changed. So in the UK, the reason that it's 24 weeks is actually our legal precedent is based on viability. The majority of fetuses, babies, I don't think there's much of a distinction. Just squeezing something out of a birth canal doesn't really change. Like it's still a life. But I'm perfectly happy with the viability distinction here. Like, and that's in most circumstances, that's plenty of time for practicality to to realize that you're pregnant, and B, to, if you don't want to be pregnant, go and deal with it. It's free. We have the NHS. Like that to me is a perfectly reasonable middle ground. I'm happy with it. I don't think we need to change it. But if
Right.
I don't get to proffer that opinion just by virtue of being a man, and the reason is because of quote unquote, I'm not the one that has to carry the baby and I'm not the one that has the harm. If your distinction is about who is being harmed, then you can't tell me that a fetus / baby isn't harmed in an abortion and half of them are men. So using
No
the
one
rationale
cares
of,
about who it's harmed. Why would you care about the material that is discarded? Why
well,
would
because
that
I
make a difference? Well, it makes no. I don't. This is a nonsense argument. Because,
well, it's
like for example, it doesn't. If you kill a man or if you kill a woman, you pretty much get, like, say for the same motive, drug deal gone bad. Kill a man, kill a woman, it's the same thing. There is no distinction into who the body of the crime is going to.
yeah, but I'm not making the distinction. They are. If you tell me I don't
Yeah,
get an opinion
But that's what
because
I'm
I'm a
telling you.
man,
It's a nonsense argument to try and say that because because there is a 50-50 chance that the fetus is a man that would be a man that he should have a say in that. That is nonsense.
no. What I'm
He's talking about
this,
the father,
Yes.
not the sex of the baby.
No, I know. But the
Okay.
father, like, why does even if we go with the argument that because 50% of fetuses are male, that still wouldn't give any justification to ask the man anything.
what it does from a societal point of view, because we
No, it
all have to
doesn't.
live in. Why not?
Well, not based on the sex of the fetus or child, though, or baby, whatever you want to.
No, yeah,
call
it doesn't. It doesn't follow that because
So,
50%
but
of the
this
fetuses. Because
so
that
this
man
rationale.
is already if he wants to have children, and this bitch doesn't want your kids, have kids with another bitch.
No, so what I mean is with regards to the discussion around abortion, the reason that I cited that in the UK it's 24 weeks. So let's say, for argument's sake, technology improves, our neonatal care improves, and now it's a case that
Are
children
you
become
trying to
viable.
make the argument that if we had the technology, that a man should have the say of grabbing that fetus and putting it in an incubator? Is that where you're going with this?
No, I'm saying that in the UK, legally, because viability is 24 weeks,
Yeah, you said
abortion
that.
is legal up to 24 weeks. So
Yes, you said that.
am I entitled to? So let's say, for argument's sake, there's a statistical study and it turns out that actually it's 26 weeks. So am I entitled in a society to proffer my opinion on abortion and go, well, actually, maybe abortion should now be legal up to 26 weeks? Am I entitled to that opinion, or do I not? Am I not entitled to opinion because I'm a man?
Ah, okay. You're sneaking in. Yes, and you're very correct in what you're doing because this is what they do. You have a say in the overall conversation of
That's
would you
exactly what I'm
like
talking
your.
about.
Yeah, but
I'm
you
not saying I
frame.
should have a
Okay,
say in
if
the
that
autonomy
is
of the individual woman.
if that is what you were talking about, you framed it the worst way I've ever seen. Like this was bad. So if you what you meant is that because you're a man, you should have a say in the institution of abortion. Then
Yeah, but
yes,
so
you have.
I
That's it. That's where it.
I did
Where
I
it
did make
ends.
the distinction. What I said was in the circumstance of like a relationship where you've got two people, I think like if you've got like a loving couple and the woman wants to have the child and the man doesn't have a child, in the context of the relationship, the discussion ensues because the father of the child has a vested interest in his child. And that is a discussion that takes place interpersonally. I don't think there should be any legislation that allows the dad to file for, like, for example, a legal injunction to prevent the woman from getting what is a legal abortion. But what I'm getting at is the reason I mentioned it is because somebody in the chat said, if you don't give birth, you don't get a say. Like, well,
Yeah.
if you're talking about within the
No, but
interpersonal
we were talking
relationship,
about no. We were not talking
I,
about
I,
society.
I,
We were talking
I
about
did make,
the one-on-one.
yeah, but I did
When
make the
they say
distinction.
that, they were talking about the one-on-one.
So the reason I made the distinction is because if there are some people who say men don't get to have an opinion on this at all.
Yeah, and those people are also wrong.
Yeah.
So that's it. We're done. That was the biggest. Wow, that was such a long road for something that we actually agree on. No, that what they were talking about is like, yeah, you want to have the child, your lady doesn't want to have the child. I'm sorry I called you ladies bitches. I know there's a few of you in the chat. I'm sorry.
A few bitches.
You know I love you.
A few
No,
ladies
it's
in the
not.
chat,
It's
Matt.
not discriminatory. I mean, bitches. Who doesn't love a good
Yo.
bitch? Bitch to me is like degenerate. Those are words that are actual compliments to me. So, I forgot what I was going to say with that joke. Damn me. Never mind. We are. Yeah, I think we're so done, people. It's almost 3 a.m. Let's do final thoughts and we'll be on our way. I'm so sad that we didn't get to listen to Isa because Isa was also like, he was fuming. And he also wanted to talk about, because he didn't get a chance to do the after. Oh, say ho to me, and I will punch you in the nuts.
What a bitch.
Oh, that sounds lovely, actually. Isa was fuming the same way that Isa was fuming like me.
So was he in
And
like the
it was
Discord and back and
I
forthing?
don't yeah. We have a group chat that we coordinate all the stuff with Isa and Dr. J. And yeah, we sometimes I use our Discord conversation as a notepad, so I'll take notes there, and we sometimes argue or discuss stuff while we are watching the debate and so on. It's fun all around. But Isa was fuming, and he also was left wanting with talking about the debate yesterday, because he also I don't know, he didn't come to the after show. So yeah, Isa, I'm sorry, but the next debate is on Saturday, and we're not going to go to talking about two debates back. I'm so sorry.
What debate is?
Before we do final thoughts, hold on. Tomorrow we're flirting, because this week we haven't flirted at all. So tomorrow we're flirting. We're going to have some fun with that. Friday, I'm reviewing we are reviewing. Hopefully, Dr. J and Isa can come on. John, if you want, you can come on too. We are talking about that debate with the guy, Mr. Biscuit, that I had.
Yes.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I already have PTSD just thinking about it. But I don't think we'll do the whole debate. I'm trying to see if I can get some clips, some of the better parts, because it was so boring and so dull, and that argument is so bad. But I want the formalization, because some of the stuff I didn't know about, like what the fuck is an idealist. I had to look it up like on the fly. I have heard it, and I know it goes back to the Greeks and so on. But then this guy, he talked about something Hindu, and I was like, whoa, that is pretty heretic. And yeah, it was all over the place. But I wanted to have Leo on because he's my trusted philosophy analyst
And physics guy as well, which did come into
and
play
physics.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was like I've dabbled in both. Obviously, Leo and I have had lots of discussions back and forth around, on philosophical and physical principles. But this Biscuit guy, I mean, fuck me.
Fuck me indeed. Yes.
I couldn't like butchered it from start to finish.
Yeah.
And he would just cherry picking, like basically it seemed like he'd read like
it's hijacking, not cherry picking, though.
Yes, no, yeah. He was hijacking these basic principles that he'd sort of read out of a GCSE physics book, and in a large part, like, because physics is such a detailed and an interconnected topic, like the physics that we teach in the early years of schooling doesn't really. It's really, really, really basic principles, and he was taking these really, really, really basic principles and, like exactly as you say, hijacking them to try and make an argument that actually, when you delve deeper into the physical principle, make like no sense whatsoever. And he did the same with the philosophical principles as well.
He did that with everything, and he sent me the lecture, and I listened to the lecture, and he's like literally hijacking a quantum realm, like a quantum mechanics thing that they say there in the quantum realm there is no space, there is no distance, but it's like it's a super niche thing. It was a lecture. It's not even like it's something that is coming up. It's not cemented. Max says, YouTube is not letting me send super chats here in Berlin, but I will send tons when I'm back. Ooh, Berlin, that is nice. Are you going to Berghain to listen to some hardcore techno?
Bergheim is really, really, really difficult to get into.
I know.
I've tried loads. I quite like Tresor actually in Berlin. Tresor is a good club. I enjoy that.
Tresor, yeah. I actually have a vinyl from the Tresor label. Oh, someone asked. Hold on, because we have so many things coming up. Let's save. Are we going to save Rusty Soul? Is Rusted Soul? And I don't know if save her, but on Tuesday, next Tuesday, we are having Rusted Soul talking about, and one of a friend of hers talking about why they think TFE was fake. With so far, I have Toon confirmed, and I'm trying to get Dave McKeegan. He said yes, but it's a little bit late for him. What's the time now in the UK?
It's 3 minutes past 8 in the morning.
In the morning.
Yeah. What time zone is
so-
Easter in as well, by the way? Just out of curiosity, I never.
Eastern.
Right. Okay. Just quickly while you're looking at that, I do just want to say, just for the sake of the chat, obviously I obviously coached. If you misunderstood me, Max, I coached my argument really poorly. I'm not advocating for men having any kind of fundamental control over whether a woman does or does not carry a pregnancy to term, but I am advocating that men should be allowed to opine on it. They get to take part in
On the social conversation, not
on the social conversation, yeah. And obviously interpersonally, whether that opinion matters to the woman or not is obviously going to be within the confines of their interpersonal relationship. Whether she chooses to take it on board or not, because she is the one carrying the pregnancy, that's in her gift, essentially. So at no point would I be okay ever with
it always comes up as an argument when people are discussing abortion, and I'll make this point really quickly, and we'll go into final thoughts, and we'll get out of here. It always comes up. The case that always gets brought up is, what if the guy wants to have a kid and the woman doesn't? Is that okay? You're fucked. But it never comes across the counter example, like, okay, what if the guy doesn't want it and the woman does want it? Then you're also fucked. So that's why sexual education is good, contraception is also good, and that's it. There's no much way. If you are a Bible believer, then that's God made it like that. Go complain to God. Just pray. Pray for acceptance, or do whatever you have to do within your little craziness.
Well, and you get the argument. You get the argument that some people make, where they'll go, well, if the woman who is pregnant is allowed to get rid of the child, then why isn't the father allowed to abdicate their parental responsibility as
But
well?
they are.
by not paying child support. I don't. Well, they might be in the US. They're not allowed to in the UK.
I don't know in the US. I know here. But, if you're a man and you do not want anything to do with that child, you can just abdicate. But so can women.
Well, you can abdicate your parental responsibility in terms of giving actual care, like the child living with you, etc.
No, you can abdicate everything.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I do not agree with that at all.
Why?
Because I actually do agree with the argument that consent to sex isn't consent to pregnancy, but I also agree that actually the welfare of the child is the thing that is paramount. And if you are responsible for creating that life, if it's going to be carried to term and it's going to live and there's a potential for suffering there, tough shit, man. That's your responsibility. You need to fucking deal with it. And if that's only going to be financial because you don't want anything else to do with it, tough.
Why? And how would you enforce it?
Well, we enforce it in the UK, no problem whatsoever.
And in the US.
Easy. Yeah.
So here, if you want, you can just completely abdicate, but both parents can actually abdicate.
Yeah. So in
Which is
in the
perfect.
UK, you like so in the UK, if you, let's say for argument's sake, the child is born and your name goes on the birth certificate when the birth is registered, actually, even if it turns out retrospectively that the child is yours and it's false paternity, then it's actually still really difficult to not have to be financially liable. But if it turns out the child is biologically yours and it's determined through genetic testing, you are going to be financially responsible for that child for the next 18 years. And the only way that you can avoid being financially responsible for the child is by being materially responsible for the child by to having the child for 50% of the time. That way you don't have to give up much of your financial resources directly to the other person, but you are giving financial resources directly to the child because, and this is, it's 100% driven by welfare for the child. And that's also why it's legally difficult after you've been registered as the father, even if you're biologically not the father, and that's determined at a later date, to abdicate that financial responsibility because you have assumed it, even though it's not your biological progeny. And I actually think that's all fine. That would be, if I had a one night stand financially, that would be to my detriment, but I don't have a problem with that. I think that's perfectly reasonable because the child welfare issue is primary, and that's how it's considered in the law in the UK.
US as well.
I think you're a little bit behind with the times. I mean, Uruguay is a pioneer in human rights after all, so I don't hold it against you. You still have a king for some reason, but you have a lot of growing up to do.
Wait. So Max, question: If
Yeah.
if an American goes to Uruguay and gets an Uruguayan woman pregnant, he can
Yeah.
just walk away and he doesn't have any
Yeah.
financial. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What's the tourist industry like in Uruguay, Max?
I mean, if you come with pounds, the exchange rate really satisfies you.
I was in Minas.
Hold on, because you have to do the paperwork. You have to do the paperwork to abdicate your parenthood. It's not that you can just go. If you come get a lady pregnant and bolt, the embassy, if you're in the US, the embassy will probably garnish your wages or some shit like that. Oh,
Okay.
we are very tight with the US.
So I have
I
something
don't
to
know
worry
how,
about
but
then. Okay.
we're filthy communists. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot to do when it comes to laws and morality and so on. I think my main point is that we are so far past the Bible that even talking about the Bible when we're talking about legislation and so on, it's useless. Especially when people will say shit like, the Bible is against abortion, when it literally gives you instructions on how to
Murder
do
babies.
abortions. Yeah.
Well, they didn't work, but it attempted to give instructions.
Well, yeah, sure. But the instructions are there. So there is no, you can't make the claim that the Bible is anti-abortion. You can make the half claim that, yeah, the Bible is against murder and so on. It's like, yeah, sure. But here, the Bible also says abortion is okay if you suspect that it's not your child.
Well,
So,
I think different religious texts, like within the Abrahamic religions, deal with it differently as well. I think actually Islam is okay with abortion up to like 120 days or something, because that's when they say that ensoulment happens. So I'm probably misquoting that, but my understanding, it was actually a Sam Harris lecture. He referenced it because he said actually, like I have a big problem with Christianity with things like stem cell research because they oppose it in its entirety, whereas I would never lay that claim at the feet of Islam, because in principle they don't have a problem with it for the most part, because ensoulment doesn't happen until in 28 days, and obviously stem cell research, like they do use aborted fetuses in stem cell research. So
some, but not all.
no, but that's a big part of why the Christians were opposed to that. So
I mean, Christians are opposed to everything. They're professional contrarians. Catherine says, let's all go to Uruguay and visit Max. I would be the orgy that we can throw. That is... Woo.
Max, I don't know if you noticed or not, but I sipped this every once
Oh
in
my
a while.
God. No.
I was in Uruguay in June. I was in Minas, like about an hour north of you.
Yeah. Wow. It's not an hour. It's like 3 or potentially more.
I was driving, not going on horseback.
Oh, Lord.
I have to say, I did try yerba mate. I have a big bag of it here. I've tried it a few times. It's a brand called Yes Mate. I don't know if it's Uruguay or whatever. I ordered it online here. I have,
a Dito I got off Amazon that looked like the bag I had when I was there, so I didn't know exactly. It was on Amazon.
Oh, you got royally screwed. Hold
I
on.
don't know. It was like what, $20 on Amazon. I'm like, this is all I could find. It comes next day. Let me grab a bag.
Hold on. Wait,
Grab a bag of the good weed stuff.
I have to say, I'm
That-
not. I couldn't get on board with it. I've tried it several times. I couldn't get on board with it, Max.
Well,
I'm sorry.
it's like coffee. You got to put some sugar in it at first, and then you just take it raw.
Max is about to reach through his screen and strangle you.
I didn't put sugar in it, but I'm explaining the whole like coffee to.
What did you just say?
I said it's like coffee. You got to put sugar in it at first, and then you're like, why is there sugar in here? This tastes good just how it is. So,
I'm going to say this.
I know. I heard.
If you put sugar, no, hold on.
It was like your grandma. You said your grandmother put sugar in her.
I'm actually going to be very serious like this. If you put sugar in your mate, don't tell me. Don't tell me, because I will have to mock you. Because the last person I ever saw drinking sweet mate was my freaking great grandmother. So if you want to be my great grandmother, whether you're a lady or a guy, I will have to mock you a little bit. And I did just check. Minas is an hour and a half, 2 hours. I've been to Minas. It's pretty nice.
Oh yeah, it's beautiful. I had a great time when I was there. I had to work too, but other than that, I had a great time.
I am checking, and Amazon is not carrying anymore the Uruguayan yerba. So pretty much whatever you can get is going to be shit.
Yeah, okay. Well, send. I'll give you my address on Discord. Just send me a bag and a couple bottles of Patricia, and I'll send you some British pounds or some American dollars or something.
That could work. I know that when my boss comes here and goes back to the US, he gets wait, hold on, I'm so sorry. He gets a bunch of packets of yerba. Oh, wait, is that? Yes, it is. Gilbert. Hey, my friend from Vietnam, you spent $1 million dongs today. I love that.
Mr. Dong.
I love that your currency is actually called dong. I genuinely love it, because today, that gives rise to the expression that today you contributed $1 million dongs to MDD. And that is just fucking great. I love it.
Max, when I was in I want to show the Americans in the chat what a pack of cigarettes looks like in Uruguay, right? So if you look at this, they put promos on their packs of cigarettes.
Wait, hold on. Let me make you big.
Gotcha. Okay. So they put promos on cigarettes to make you not want to smoke. So they put ugly bitches on their packs of cigarettes with their ugly cellulite cave thighs.
Oh, and that is wait, because the problem is that you don't understand. That one says yes, smoking gives you cellulitis, but the other one is hemiplegia.
Oh,
that's why half of her face is paralyzed.
Okay.
But that is nothing.
Palsy, but okay.
Yeah, brain palsy.
That's she'd had a stroke or something.
I think that's the actual name. Yes. So the other thing is that there's ones that have, like babies that were born premature and with a nose tube and so on. Like, yeah, I don't have any like.
It was funny. I was looking at the shelf at all the packs. I'm like, oh, get me the lady with the cellulite thighs. And so I got to pick my ugly woman on my pack of cigarettes. It was pretty badass in Uruguay.
No, yeah,
It's
it's a weird thing. Hold on, I can show you.
Have you seen the film Thank You for Smoking? And the executive, there's a scene where he goes, "Our job, for God's sake, our job is practically done for us. They're cool, they're available, and they're addictive. So what the fuck are we gonna do when these bastards put Captain Hook on our product?" They do the same in the UK as well. They put things of like smokers' lungs after autopsies. There was an advertising campaign where it was like a limp wet cigarette butt because they were alluding to like erectile dysfunction and stuff like that. They've not gone
Oh,
quite as far as to go, don't smoke or this fat ugly bitch will come and jump on you.
Look,
it,
Max, my cigarettes match. My cigarettes match.
yeah, that's what
Oh
I
my
was telling
god.
you. So this one, uh, smoking cigarettes will turn your teeth yellow. This one, smoking cigarettes can cause throat cancer, uh, cellulitis, brain palsy. Smoking will get you agitated. You're lacking air, and then lung cancer, sudden death, and let's it says let's take care of the air that surrounds us so that they have a safe sleep.
Oof. See,
Yeah, so like
so I don't
secondhand
know
smoke.
Spanish, so I don't know what the pack say. So I'm like, oh yeah, give me the one with the ugly bitch. So not like she.
Well,
I didn't
I
know
thought it,
she has no. I'm like,
Let's
I don't know what's wrong with her.
I
I
know,
can't
but now we
read
know. So
Spanish.
let's stop saying that because she's not just an ugly bitch.
yeah, I
She
think
has
it's
a
like is it a stroke or Bell's palsy or something like
Bell's
that?
palsy.
Bell's
In
palsy.
Spanish,
Yeah.
it's called hemiplegia.
Right. Okay.
I'll translate. 1 second. I think that our friend Gilbert, sir, but I have a Tesla and travel, so do your own thing. I wasn't mocking you, my good sir. I was just finding the fact that the currency is called dong. I just found it funny. And with the value of the currency today, I did the math. Like, look, I have it. I actually saved them, Gilbert. I wasn't mocking you or your country. It's just a funny thing. It's like the word assassin. Assassin has the word ass twice in it. It makes me giggle every time. So I don't. This we were just laughing at the fact that with this super chat and this super chat and this super chat and this other super chat, you sent 1,000,000 dongs to MDD, and I might be a child and immature as fuck, but that is funny.
Yeah, Max laughs at fart jokes, but he's also very appreciative of the $38 that you donated to MDD. It helps them keep going. So
Yeah. Okay. Hemiplegia. Wait, no, this is not English. This is Espanol. Oh, okay. So what the lady has, it's not Bell's palsy. It's not a stroke. It's actually called hemiplegia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's basically paralysis. Shut the fuck up, Gilbert, this is all good. Why are you so aggressive? We're all having a laugh.
Yeah, but then he says he's wrong. So he realized that, oh wait, dongs is funny.
It's funny. How did you stop smoking? I stopped. I am one of those people that can say something and then do it. But I've done it with, like, I stopped smoking weed. I stopped smoking cigarettes. I stopped smoking smoking drugs. Yeah, weed. No, but I stopped like actually doing drugs like MDMA and LSD and partying and so on. So one day I just stopped. Right before Dr. J came last year, I had started dating a woman and she liked to smoke right after sex, and she wouldn't want to, like, I felt bad asking her, like, hey, can you at least go outside or go to the living room? So I kind of got back on it. I relapsed because she was like smoking after sex, and that whole situation was like, I smelled it and I was like, oh, I want one now. So I relapsed there. Dr. J came in. I wasn't going to annoy him with me being in the foulest of mood for 3 days. So I stopped smoking again after Dr. J left Uruguay last year. And then I don't really have the need anymore. I kind of got that urge. I did look to the side where my cigarettes used to be on when I was drunk on that stream. I was like, "Oh, I would really like a cigarette now," but the fire in my esophagus took care of that immediately. Dude,
Yes.
I had PTSD in my digestive tract for like a week. I was like literally shitting flames.
Well,
Yeah, it was
vaping
weird.
really
Awful.
helps quitting, but
Well, I quit smoking when I'm 41 in November. I quit smoking in my mid-20s.
Oh my
And
god!
it was actually a response. It was actually partly due because we had an indoor smoking ban. So all licensed premises in the UK you were no longer allowed to smoke indoors, and it seemed to do a couple of things. A lot of people did stop smoking. A lot of pubs had made outdoor smoking areas,
Yep.
and all the pubs, clubs, and bars instantly and immediately, instead of smelling like cigarette smoke, smelt of the most horrendous BO you've ever smelt in your life.
Yep.
Because the smoke
That's
didn't cover it
exactly
up
what
anymore.
happened here. But it's not that I don't value your anecdote, but people, Mr. Gilbert Guzman
Dr. Eggman.
sent me 100,000 dogs. Yes, let's go. Let's freaking go. Would someone please take a screenshot of
yeah,
that?
Max, you have to read the comment though.
Oh, I have to read the.
Dr.
I
Eggman.
actually have to read the comment. Yes, I'm sorry.
And it's a funny comment.
I was being so happy because he
It's
says,
true.
"Sure, Dr. Eggman."
Sega.
You're funny, Gilbert. You're funny. Subscribe, Gilbert.
Right. I'm gonna have to go, otherwise I'm gonna be late. So
Yeah, we're on our way. If you want to give your final thought, go ahead and we'll do that
yeah.
next.
All of the debaters on this were a bit shit. There wasn't really much content. I suppose Fugazi added some chuckles with regards to his terrible, terrible arguments, but other than that, it was a bit pointless. Anybody who thinks that women aren't held accountable in the modern world to one degree or another is just fucking mad. I mean, women pay taxes, they take part in our educational institutions. Obviously, there are some differences in how accountability is applied in certain very specific circumstances, and that's almost exclusively for a good reason, be it societal, biological, or whatever else. You can find anecdotes, you can find discrepancies in some areas, but they are almost always anecdotes and are hardly ever systemic. We do our best to equalize where we can. It's not possible to always equalize. Yes, they are held accountable. Justifiably so. So it's just a madness to think that they're not. And Fugazi was a fucking idiot. And the girl on the other side, whatever her name was, the girl wearing the black, well, just the girl on the other side. Yeah, not much content did she add. And
Nope.
was it dialogue or debate always? And
Debate
Jen,
always. Yep.
they seem to have a reasonable back and forth, but I don't actually think they disagreed that much.
Nope.
So,
all right.
right,
Thank
I've got
you
to
so
shoot,
much.
guys. Thanks for having me on again. I'll catch you later.
Take care. Gilbert said, I'm trolling, bro. No, nothing. I'm sorry, dude. You don't have to apologize. Look, here sometimes we talk seriously. And sometimes we have a little bit of fun. Like with the whole, I just learned today that the currency of Vietnam is called a dong. And I just thought it was kind of like a funny quiz. Like it's just funny because I'm stupid. That's kind of the basic thing. Or as Whodunit said, Max, you're a damn child and we love you. Thank you so much. But
Max, this
I
panel's
am
always
actually.
balding dudes with beards. You ever notice that? Like all
Yeah.
the time, this panel's balding dudes with. I guess I fit in pretty good, you know.
Yeah.
I'm losing it a little bit, but you know that's why we got half.
When I heard someone say that out of all of the battles that you could choose in life, the battle against hair loss is not one that you should take up on yourself because you're going to lose.
Exactly.
You're going to lose. So if you're going bald, just shave it all and that's it.
It's a worse battle than divorcing my ex-wife.
Oh yeah. I mean, and you cannot win by any chance. It's like it's decided.
Well, I got this great CC wig, you know, that kind of makes it look not as bad, but gray. But I look like CC a little bit if I shave it all off. But I mean,
oh yeah. All right. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I have a final thought on the debate. I don't want to make this sound insensitive by any means, but the debate was like 9/11. It was horrible, but you had to watch it.
Fair enough. I don't know if I have had final thoughts. I think we covered everything that I thought about this freaking debate. Hopefully, we'll get me on MDD soon so we can actually get some actual debating.
A good debate.
It looks like we are going to debate on a 2v2. It's going to be me and Craig against Apollos and Wi-Fi Gospel. So I can't wait. I hope that actually happens.
Wait, is this about the shape of the earth or is this about something else?
No, it's going to be, does God exist?
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. So hopefully that happens. Everyone, keep your fingers crossed. And of course, we're going to campaign for the day that I go on MDD. Hashtag Max to debate con 7. So everyone needs to help chime in with that.
Max, did you know I debated MC Toon on the shape of the earth and I won?
When? What?
This
what?
was like two years ago.
Oh, I don't know. I came in about 2 years ago into like the whole thing.
Yeah, I debated MC Toon. It was a great time. We had a great time.
You know what? It was actually October 2023 when that debate con that Andrew Wilson and Matt Dillahunty had were supposed to debate, and Andrew Wilson filibustered the whole thing just so he would be able to get out of the debate. Yeah, it was 2 years. So, but I was going to do something for the 2 years anniversary. But then I thought, why? No, because that was the anniversary of the old channel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to celebrate. I think it's January 12, which is the actual date that I fully hosted my first after show. All of it that I did, the thumbnail, hosted it. Yeah. That was when I took care of it. And that one, after I did that one, then I did all the after shows. So January 12th, we still have time, but that's when we're celebrating.
Max, we should debate about something in the near future.
I mean, if you want to get crushed in public, then sure.
Well, I mean, but like a not a debate, but more of a heated discussion. You know, not to where we hate each other, but enough to where we can be like, we fought a battle and that was fun.
I'm down. Okay. I think I don't have like a minimum range. I have discussion mode where we talk chill and I let you talk and I destroy you with a couple of sentences, but it's all more like chill and so on, like I did with Nico the other day. Or I have debate mode in which I completely crush people and I'm very aggressive.
Well, we have debate mode, but we hug at the end.
That could work, yeah. You probably have my Discord somewhere.
I don't think I do. I don't
It's
know. I remember
MXXX
asking you. Go ahead. MXXX.
D.UY for Uruguay.
Hold on.
But-
Can you put it in the chat so I don't have to type it so I can just copy paste it because I'm a lazy American?
Yes.
Thank you.
If not, you can check the list on Toon server or
Oh, okay. You're on the one. Okay, gotcha.
or
Okay.
FTFE server. And while we're talking Discord, let me make sure to remind the people that we do have a Yerba Mate Talks Discord that I'm sharing there. So we're doing tomorrow we're flirting. Friday, we're going over the debate with Leo. Saturday, there's another debate on MDD, and that is going to be. Sorry, I'm making time. Was Trump the right pick over Kamala? Oh, Kamala. I'm sorry if I fucked up the pronunciation. It's not on purpose.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Phoebe and William versus Hake and Michael. Another pointless what if debate. This is just
And the premises on these MDD debates are just like, what? Like, what do you? Huh? What do you? They're unclear and they just go all over the place.
But then we like whenever I send debate proposals and debate requests, like, hey, do you think we could do this topic? Like, I am ready to debate a Muslim on my own. I'm the author of an argument against Islam that I have never ever heard anyone else use or say or anything, and it's too niche apparently. So
that sounds sexy, Mac. That sounds like cave titties. You know, that's like up there with cave titties.
Yes, but I mean, it doesn't. And then we have a series of 3 debates, like where the prompts make no sense. Like, why are we even debating hypothetical futures or hypothetical pasts or whatever that is? Like, why don't we debate like reality?
Yeah. No, that makes too much sense, man. Too much sense for MDD.
That topic, was Trump the right pick over Kamala? That could be better framed. Like,
that's so broad.
Is the Trump presidency going good or is it bad?
Yeah,
like, that would be a way more interesting debate.
It just the premise just leaves it too open. It's just too open to take, and there's no focus. It turns into like a shit show, like it was today, where we start talking about the meaning of the word burden in a debate about women that I don't even remember the title to because it was just so horrible that I can't even remember anymore. Oh wait, it's written up here. Are women not held accountable today? Like, I don't know. I totally lost interest and lost track of the debate while it was going on. It was horrible. But when I debate you and kick your ass in the near future, and then we hug at the end, we're gonna have a good time and we'll make it a good debate.
Sure, we can certainly do that, but it's not my ass. I want that's going to get kicked.
All right, your balls. I don't know, wherever you want to get kicked, Max. Whatever you're into, as long as
we go,
whatever you want.
Make sure to do the social thing is like, share, subscribe, send this to a friend, send this to your significant other, go to the corner, yes, the corner of your street, and you subscribe to Yerba Mate Talks. And that way
there's no noise ordinances when you do that because you might get arrested. For the Americans, where you can't just go on the street at Minas and just yell things, and subscribe to Yerba Mate Talks.
I mean, it's working. We're getting new and more subs every day. We get a couple. Like,
I've been screaming, Max. I screamed that in Minas, and the police down the road looked at me weird. I'm like, I don't know.
I mean, you can just say no español.
The Uruguayan dude was like, "Hey, scream this." I was like, "Okay." And
okay, join your Discord. Ooh, let's fucking go. I'm going to send you some of the pictures of that racing game that I'm playing that takes place in Hawaii. It's pretty cool. All right, people, we're out. Thank you so much. Take care. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Later, peeps.
Bye-bye.
Cheers.